Yep. No sleep for you, Cowface dude. Too much work to do. What is up, everybody? How's it going? Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. This Drunk Dane, dude, thank you for the 3 months, buddy. Thank you for the 3-month resub. How are you? Thank you for being first, as always. RJC, what's up, baby? How's it going? How you doing, man? Error, by the way, Error Pie, dude, thank you for the follow. What? Hadn't even started yet. Stream hadn't even started yet. I guess the graphics were just so cool. You felt you had to stay. I appreciate that. But welcome, everybody. How's it going? Hello. Hope you guys are having a good week. I'm having a good week. Yeah, man. I love the graphics. Oh, thanks, bud. I appreciate that. I like the name, by the way. That's actually pretty crazy that you got Error Pie. That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. But welcome. My week has been pretty good so far. As I have told you guys, I am in the process of at work of building a complete new way of how we deploy front ends. We've been working on it on stream, actually. And yesterday, I really just spent a lot of the time prototyping it against our actual infrastructure. I created a lot of the just like pieces that I wanted to test. Honestly, a lot of pieces we had already created. Things like the bucket, the cloud distribution, all that stuff. Kind of put it in our environment, though, to kind of get the vibe of like, what are our limitations, right? Like, it's easy, for me as Alt F4 to, create a bucket somewhere and put it in the cloud. But at Hippo, it's a little bit different. So it was definitely a bit of a learning experience getting it set up on the Hippo side of things. We learned some things. I want to test something today. So we do have a specific goal today. We've at Hippo, at least for the most part, we've handled the public side, right? Which is really for production. And that's kind of like what you see here in the chart. What I want to handle today is the other side of it. We'll get into that more in a minute. But yesterday I really just handled all of the public routing, taking a look at how we would deploy that and what that would look like. Brings up memories of live editing PHP and prod. Oh God. Yeah, that was a while ago, Agile. That was a while ago. I gotta be real. It's been a while since I thought about that. So thanks for letting me relive that memory too. How's it going, Agile? How you doing? But yeah, so I will say this. I meant to grab my work laptop before I started because I wanted to see if I could get some of this code off of it. Because I made like a nice little module that I would like to keep contributing to if possible. However, I don't know how modular it is. If that makes sense. It's really written for a lot of Hippo stuff. So let me just peer into my work laptop here for a second and let me see exactly what I have. And then we'll talk about the problem that I need to solve. And basically what that's going to look like. But how are you guys? How's your week been? Everything been good, I hope. Hold on one second. Okay. Excuse me. Woo! Pimpla, dude, what is up, man? Thank you for the 17 months, bro. Holy crap. Thank you for the 17 months, dude. How are you, Pimpla? How you doing, buddy? I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm waking up. I'm looking at some Terraform that I wrote yesterday. Yeah, so I wrote a module. So I'm not against turning this into like a module. Let's see here. Bucket, that's pretty much the same. ACL is pretty much the same. CloudFront distribution. Yeah, I don't think I think the only thing I added was the Cloudflare record. I think that was it, which we can do as well. Dude, Pimple, thank you for the 17 months though, man. Seriously, like year, almost 2 years, bro. Thank you. Had a lovely mistype of kube control apply-k company/prod today, which made me find out that our ACLs are not set up correctly. Happens, man. It happens. This drunk day, it happens to the best of us, buddy. Don't feel too bad about it. As a VOD watcher, your discovery of mouse mode cracked me up, bro. I was offended partially by it. I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah. I got to get all of the other new VODs up and change the titles. We're in a bit of a rush before TwitchCon, chat. Oh, I did the SSL stuff too. That's right. Okay. So I did the SSL stuff too. But we were in a bit of a hurry before TwitchCon, and so I got the last VODs up that are on the archives right now. But some of the titles didn't save, I guess, for some reason. But yeah, dude, you got to set up those ACLs properly, or otherwise you're gonna pay for it later. And hey, it looks like you might have caught that lesson. Okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna look at my existing code and compare it to what I have here really quickly and see if there's anything. Okay, so for example, one thing that I'm definitely doing that I guess we could do as well is I'm creating a module for this. So we'll say this is a front end static type, because we have other type of front ends. We technically have like front end service. A front end service would be like what would a front end service be example? A front end service would be like what's that thing that everybody freaks out about where it's like React but in the server? Next, is that what it is? It's Next. Yeah, that's a front end service. Cerveza, not a beer. But it's a front end service. What that essentially, yes, thank you, server-side rendering, yes. Any kind of server-side rendering, any kind of thing that requires you to essentially run a process, that is a service, essentially, in our terminology, and so that's why we call it a front-end service. That's what we've been currently running, and we're trying to get to a front-end static, and the front-end static will be us deploying static files to, an S3 bucket or something like that. So we're going to create a front-end static module in good old Terraform to keep that, like, all those resources coupled somewhat together. And remember, like, we're not even going to keep this Terraform. We're really not. But it does also kind of give us the idea of like how we want to structure it, and kind of like, okay, well, if we want this to be reusable and be able to put front-end statics in any environment, what are the parameters it may need, right? Things like that. Like, this is still prototyping that's valuable, because then I can just like go to the engineer and be like, hey, look, I went a little bit further with this, sorry, but here's what you can use from it. And again, they still implement everything. They can look at it and go like, okay, I like this modularization. I like how these resources are here, things like that. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. And again, it's even honestly, I don't even need to give them any of the code if I really don't want to. I can just be like, hey, this is how I wrote it. If you want to do it the same way, you can. If not, whatever. It really doesn't matter. But as a helper, yeah. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Let's go here. Let's go to this main. We're going to take everything out of this main, and we're going to put it into our new main. Boop, like that. And the reason for that is because we're going to actually have our modules include their providers with them. We've had this problem before in the past where modules have inherited providers from other modules, and it has been a nightmare. From what I know, the best way of providing like the best scope to modules so that they use the right like provider version and stuff like that is to actually put the provider's information in the module itself, basically like we've got here. And so this specific module is going to use Terraform AWS 435. But for example, if I was to go to like the main here, I could have Terraform at a completely different version. Hang on one second, chat. My cats they're up to no good. Edward just looked at me like, what? I was like, I know you're up to no good. Yeah, luckily I had no real changes, so nothing bad happened, but it should have obviously have failed to apply for my work laptop. Yeah, I mean, it happens, dude. I think the biggest thing any company really needs to understand when they have people working in ops especially is like, we're going to break it. It's going to happen. Like, that's one of the nice things I actually really do appreciate about working at Hippo is like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If I was to lose the company like multiple millions of dollars or something like that, it would not be great. But my job is not valued by a price, right? Like, it's valued by what I provide to the company. And so like and I'm saying if, I'm not saying this has happened. I'm saying if it were to happen, if, I don't know, I was to like over provision $60,000 a month or something like that, just like whatever, anything like that. Obviously catch it as soon as possible. Not a good thing to repeat. Not saying any of that stuff. This is stuff you should just keep doing over and over and over. But I am saying that there's always room for error. So As long as you're not erroring all the time. You know, it happens. It does. It absolutely happens in our field. That's 100% true. Okay, so let's see here. We've got the Terraform provider. That looks the same. One thing we're going to have to do that I realize here is we're going to have to add an alias. And this alias is going to be US East 1. The reason why we need to add this US East 1 alias is because we're going to say required for SSL certificates on CloudFront. So apparently I forgot about this, and I shouldn't say apparently because I knew about this before, but CloudFront only uses US East to reference its certificates. And so if you have a certificate in a different region, whatever it's called, it won't detect it. And so what we have to do is we actually have to create a provider specifically for US East 1 so that we can get data directly from US East 1. And that's actually going to be on the certificate itself, though we'll talk about that later. Okay, cool. So we've got our main provider, which is US West 2. So by default, we provision here. Right? Like this is where we provision by default. Default region. Right? And then this is our I guess we'll just call it US East 1 region. Right? But yeah, this is where everything's going to go by default, and then I can use this provider in other places because I have an alias for it. And I'll show you how we do that in a second. Well, let's put Alt F4 LLC in front of this just because, you know, company stuff. As long as you solve more problems than you make. Yeah, that's true. Could not be more truly said. Trust me, I've been on both sides of that. All good here, starting with Vim, and it takes some time to get used to. Hope it's worth it. It's going to be up to you whether or not you think it's worth it. I think one thing that's really awesome about the conversation now with Vim is that people who I think like here's the situation, right? When Vim hit the scene, right, and it got really popular amongst, I would say, like I'm just gonna say amongst the culture. I'm not gonna say it wasn't popular. I'm just gonna say like the engineering culture that we all brew in. It was a bit elitist for a little while. And I wasn't a fan of that, like personally. Like we just, hey man, gotta call a spade a spade. That's what happened. Not sure why, but it did. And so like, you know, there was like this, and there still kind of is this like blood of like back and forth of like Vim, VS Code. But like honestly, I feel like at this point it's just playing, which I love. And I'm totally down for it. And again, I've really been down for it the whole time, but you know, I can understand why people get upset. And so now that that's kind of cooled down, the, you know, conversation that, you know, to be fair, I've always had is just use whatever you want. You're going to find the value out of it. And a lot of us, I think, have become, you know, evangelists of Vim because of what we get out of it. You know what I mean? I get a fun experience out of it. I've said this before multiple times. I genuinely feel like I am closer to my code because in Vim, you just navigate differently. In Vim, you don't scroll as much as you like jump through your code, do code, you know, go to code definition or you're looking at like, you know, what the actual current definition of the reference is, you know, things like that. It's just a bit of a different experience, to be honest with you, than kind of using VS Code. I use VS Code for a portion of my career. I think like a third of it, at least. No, more than that. Half of it. At least a half of it. I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, they built the tool that I was able to, you know, make money off of. Like, again, calling a spade, you know? So, if you find yourself getting really excited about Vim, enjoying it, pushing on, you know, pushing it, learning more and more about it, then you'll probably find that same value. Coffee. It's great when you get into the flow. Exactly. What's up, Scotty? How's it going, by the way? How you doing, dude? And yo, Korean Jedi, hello. I appreciate the shout out to the server side rendering. My brain went blank, and you filled that void for me. Does Terraform not have a way like Pulumi to do automatic prefixes? Been a while since I've touched Terraform. For what? So you could do you can let's try that one more time. You can do automatic prefixing for things like workspaces, right? So like, for example, it's up here somewhere. I think you do it like here. It's like workspace prefix, something like this. I don't know if this is the actual thing. And then you do like dash, or no, is it prefix or affix? Whatever. But basically you do like Alt F4 LLC like this, and then any workspace you make off of this will have that as a prefix. I know that works. Into provision names, IDs. No, I don't think it does that. No. I mean, you can write it that way, right? Like what I'm doing right now, bucket name, and then just making a reusable value, right? But yeah. Always happy to be here. I'm starting to get the web dev itch again. It happens, dude. I feel like if you've worked in web dev ever in the past, you get that itch every now and then where you're like, oh man, you know, I don't want to see how everything's going on in the world of front end. And then you go work in it and you go like, oh my God, it's still terrible. And then you know, it's like a quick high. You go and work with it for like a few days and you're like, you know, I think we're not gonna do this again for a while. I love moving around, and I also tend to understand more about tooling than I use and integrate. Yep. Because you use it a lot more directly, I think, as well, for sure. You're not just looking at like window panes. You're like actually moving around the user interface again with like, you know, HJKL or your arrow keys, whatever. It's the same kind of flow too, right? Like in VS Code, you can have so many different types of flows for user experience, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like some of them are focused on buttons, some of them are focused on scrolling, some of them are focused on nothing but entering, you know, values into like what is essentially a JSON file. Like they're just so different in so many ways. I like Vim so far after 2 weeks using it, but I still feel slow with everything. You're gonna feel slow. It's okay. Like seriously, it's okay. Dude, I used to type like 120 average before I got my Moonlander. I did a video. What did we do? We did a monkey type like a day or two ago, and I got like 79. I was like, yeah, no, not happening today. I guess we're not feeling it. So it happens. It's progress, my friend. We call that progress. All right. Okay, so here's our providers. Here's our default region. Here's that. This is going to be our bucket name. We'll keep the bucket name the same. We then create the bucket, static front end. Let's rename static front end to front end static. Let's also like do that everywhere. Cool. Okay, so bucket gets created. I'm just referencing my laptop, making sure I've got the same code. I don't have the Cloudflare one. Let's do that really quickly. Let me add the Cloudflare provider. So let's say TF Cloudflare. Moonlander. I've had my Moonlander forever. You didn't know that, this drunk Dane? Dude, I've had my Moonlander forever. Check this out. Shabam. You can also take a look at I actually have a Moonlander and a, what's the other one? The Plank. I have that one too. I don't use my Plank as much though. To be honest with you, it's kind of a novelty keyboard. I thought it was going to be more practical, but I think it's more of just so if you guys don't know ErgoDocs is a very interesting company in the sense that it's run by this guy whose name I cannot remember right now. Or he's kind of like the main designer or something like that. I can't remember. But anyways, he's like, he likes to experiment with keyboards. He's kind of like the Hideo Kojima of keyboards. It's weird. Like I get these weird emails from him all the time. Like, you know, I kind of feel like this is how keys should work. So we're going to try this time. You know what I mean? Oh, dear say, thank you for the 45 months. Oh my gosh, that's so long. Thank you for the 45 months. I appreciate that. I hope you're having a good day as well. But yeah, he works with like he experiments with like all these different types of keyboards designs and stuff like that. And so the Moonlander was one of those designs. And so I forget exactly where I was going with this. However, it's just really interesting. I lost my train of thought. If I'm ever gonna try Kinesis, I would probably also try the 360. Yeah, I've talked about it before. I'm just not a big fan of the Advantage 2. Not my biggest. It's too big. It's just far too big. It's far too big. Oh yeah, that's right. I was adding this Cloudflare provider. Dude, I just zoned out for a second. Oh, come on. I hate it when they code stuff like this. I don't want the whole block of code, okay? I just want this part right here. That's all I wanted. You just had to ruin that for me. Oh, crap. It's Terraform. And then... Oh, got it. Okay. There we go. Fixed it. I fixed it. It's fine. The Advantage 2 is not far enough apart. Yeah. Oh, what I was thinking. Sorry. All right. I remember what I was thinking. So yeah. So I have a Moonlander. And like my keyboard is pretty standard for most of the keys. But I will say I've experimented with it a lot as well. And like one thing that I like about the Moonlander is just how highly versatile it is with like programming wise. One of the things I recently set up that I'm going to start working with more is actually macros. You can actually record macros and play macros back. And so, for example, if I wanted to, now I could be like, let's try this. Let's say, bam, this is a macro. And then I hit this, and then I hit this. And there you go. Now I have a macro on my keyboard. So like that stuff I'm trying to mess around with more as well. You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome. We'll see. We'll see. I haven't had a good enough reason to use it yet, but we'll see. Okay, so AWS S3 bucket, front end static. We've got our bucket. We've got our public access block, which is what we need, and it should be bucket, and then true for everything. Yep. We then have our access identity, which is definitely what it should be. We then have our bucket policy, IAM document. So here, let's do this. Let's go in here, new file, data, TF, and let's move some of this data. Move this. Okay, front end static, that's good. Okay, that's moved. And then the CloudFront distribution itself. Yep. Okay. Let's take a look at. So the bucket policy is good. Let's look at the CloudFront distribution. Let's see if I changed anything. So I did add an alias. If we add an alias now, I'm gonna need to figure out. Do I have a SSL certificate for? Here we go. Certificate manager. Let's see, chat. Let's see if I planned ahead. I did not. Doesn't look like I did. Oh, I did. Nice. Okay, so we do have one for Alta4 Dev. So we could use the Alta4 Dev domain. We have a lot of domains, chat. So we could use the Alta4 Dev domain. All right. So yeah. Well, all right. Well, yeah. Let's do it. Why not? Why not? All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna add an alias, and we're gonna say that the alias should be. You know what? Before we do that, let's actually give ourselves a little bit of variables. So remember, I'm trying to create this as a module, meaning that like if I want a front-end static as a Terraform module, I just want to be able to use front-end static over and over and over again. To do that, I actually need to have a main.tf file at the root that basically imports those modules, right? Yo, Biolic me? Okay. Thank you for the follow. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. I have no idea how to say it, but thank you for the follow. Is this a Terraform file? It is. Yeah, it is a Terraform file. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new what we're gonna call module, right? Now, this is a Terraform specific thing, but basically it is a way for us to import reusable code essentially into our Terraform automation itself. So for example, again, if I wanted to be able to provision a bunch of different services the same way, this is how you would do it. So for example, if I was like, all right, environment, we'll say is dev for us. We'll say that the oh wait, this isn't Hippo SPA, my bad. Wrong company. Alt F4 LLC SPA, sure, right? We'll call it the SPA single page application, right? Service name in this case is gonna be Alt F4 LLC SPA POC, right? And this is because we're giving it a service name because it's technically still something that is hosted in our infrastructure, and we call all of those things services. Now, there is an actual distinction between a service and a static in this case, so we're actually breaking a terminology here for the first time. I guess we could just call it name, but I don't really like. I guess we could just call it name for now. Yeah, we could call it name. That's fine. But again, the idea here is that this is the name of the front end that we're deploying essentially. Okay, and if we wanted to, I could even say this, and I could even get rid of this, and I can show you guys an easier way of kind of like making that standardized, right? So we'll just say that this is our SPA POC, right? Cool. So we're going to have an SPA POC that we're going to deploy to our dev environment with the name of SPA POC, right? Our source is going to be our front end static, right? Because that is the source of the module that we want to use. And then the zone name in this case is going to be alta4.dev, right? Now, I do not know where alta4.dev is currently hosted from a DNS perspective. I'm going to say it's probably in Cloudflare, though. How do you get the processes next to your power level 10K ZSH terminal? It's just gaps. Like, I'm just using i3 gaps to move it from one side to the next. Cool. Okay. So let's log into Cloudflare now. Hang on. Bam. So yeah, so check it out. So Alta4Dev is in Cloudflare, which is perfect because this is exactly how it works at Hippo, believe it or not. We'll keep that on because that's bright AF. Can I not like, oh, there it is, collapse sidebar, cool. Okay, so, yeah, we need to go to DNS. Okay, so we're gonna need to add a DNS name, cool. So in that case, then the zone name is still appropriate here. And so this is where our front end is actually gonna get its DNS zone created as well, right? Alta4Dev. What this means is that if I was to say want to create a different front end deployment, I could say like SPA POC 02, this one can go into production, and we'll actually put this on our like alta4.prod domain, right? And so the idea here is like we have complete control over what environment it's deployed in, the name of it, the source code that we're using for the module, as well as the zone name or the domain essentially that it gets provisioned on. And these are a lot of the parameters and like flexibility. Like this is it really, right? For creating the infrastructure that we need to setting up our highly available, front end. This is really all we should need. And again, like I said, if we want another one, we just do this. We want another one, we just do this. And then we just say, SPA POC to our new front end, right? And then this is, SPA POC to other new front end, right? And we can even try, like I can even provision all of these, after we get one of the automations in place. But let's get the first one set up. Okay, so if that's the case, then that also means that we are going to need a file called variables.tf to handle all of our variable declarations. This is a way of actually telling the module, hey, these are the parameters that we're expecting. So we're going to say variable, right? And we're going to say environment environment, that's a variable, right? Nullable equals false, and then the type equals a string, right? And so that is the first variable that we need. The second one is going to be our name, and then the third one is going to be our zone name. So we'll just say environment, environment, and we'll say name, right? And then environment zone name, right? And so that's it. These are the 3 variables that we need to pass into our module. So we have our SPA POC, which is going to go into dev, SPA POC, front end static with the zone Alta for dev. So let's go to our actual main again and start replacing some of these values. Now, somebody earlier asked me, like, how could you, or, you know, essentially, like, how would you prefix stuff in Terraform to make sure that you're, you know, naming all of your resources or whatever, you know, appropriately? It depends on how you want to name things. And I'm going to be very clear on this. Naming resources in the cloud is hard. Naming things in programming in general is hard, but naming resources in the cloud is also very hard because, I'm going to be honest with you, that starts to become how good are you at naming things at scale? And that's a problem we've even dealt with at Hippo, where, you know, when our first early infrastructure was created, it was more named, you know, conventions and stuff like that, with like our actual resource. Right, exactly, like resource stuff, you know what I mean? We tried that, this Drunk Dane, we've tried that. But even in those scenarios, some team names were huge, right? We have some team names that are like 30 characters, 40 characters, right? Some resource stuff even has huge names and things like that too. So like we would hit character limits, right? Even what, like, I'm not even kidding, like just straight up, how many characters can you have in a resource name? We would hit those limits because of, you know, services that would be like, and I'm not even kidding, it'd be like, okay, here's one of our service names at Hippo. It's smart home ring, what is it called? Hold on. This is one of the ones that actually, yeah, here we go. Smart home ring connector service. That is one of our service names. And like, it may not look that bad, but like, that is basically not a paragraph. That is basically a sentence. That was one of the ones that like, we had to go like, oh man. So like, no. See, and so that's the thing is then you go like, okay, well, when do you apply these like standardizations and when do you not, right? We try and focus on where it matters and where it doesn't for us, right? So like bucket names, obviously, those will probably need to be standardized in some way, shape, or form because people are clicking on buckets in the user interface, and you know they're able to. Okay, I'll let that one through. I'll let that one through. But that's just because it's you pick. Oh wait, did it not go through? Oh, did that one not go through, pick? Huh. I allowed it. That's weird. But anyways, yeah, like bucket names, stuff like that, things that are like, you know, user facing, we do try and have, you know, standardizations around, but not everything. Like this, for example, the best standardization I can give you is, because I'm using a module, how the resource is technically going to be named is something like this, like module dot, what is it? What did I say it was? SPA, POC, and then dot, AWS, right? Like the resource name, S3 bucket dot static, or no, front end static. Yeah, front end static. And the reason why this is kind of named or set up this way is because modules can then nest naming conventions inside of them, right? So what I normally do, and if we kind of like translate what this actually is it's, you know, it's module dot, we'll say service name, right? Dot resource name dot, you know, template template name, right? that's a way of leaning on how Terraform, names things based off of like its scoping of modules and stuff like that. Otherwise, it becomes challenging. So I do think that like leaning on modules can be helpful, right? Because in this case, this module is going to create a resource front end static. Technically a resource named front end static for every one of these resources. And I don't know. That's the easiest way I've figured out how to do it in Terraform. All of this is up to you, man. Do whatever you feel is best. But that's how I do it. Some resources can't be renamed. It has to be recreated. Yep, that's very true as well. Is the string interpolation not dangerous on the security side, or is that only database related? The string interpolation that you're seeing here right now is specifically Terraform related, so it wouldn't be, it's fine. They suggest you to do it in places where you need to, so it should be fine. I saw you recently use Pulumi with Go. What is the benefit of using Go as IAC? Compile versus interpreter shouldn't be a problem. I mean, from a language, like, you got two different perspectives. You got the language perspective, which is just plain and simple, like you said, being able to, compile to a binary, being able to, have that easily shippable, stuff like that, right? Like those are massive benefits. Node is Node, right? You got to deal with shipping all of the packages and everything else with it, and so there's that, right? And then this is a personal preference, but I'm just getting tired of working with JavaScript and TypeScript. I've been getting tired of it for a while, and I've been using Go more and more in my career, personally, and in my career. And so I just think that there are more interesting languages out there for me to use, and I just really like using Go. So yeah, I get it's not the best. Go has a lot of really nice things about it. The type safety, in my opinion, is definitely a lot stricter, which is a lot nicer. However, some people would say they like TypeScript's type safety better, which I would say it's more like type bumpers. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. I'm not, again, I've built a lot in TypeScript. It's a really great language if you need to build stuff quick, get it running, and wait, am I not, when I allow these things, are they not getting like posted? Because I swear to God, I'm allowing them. And I don't understand why they're not getting posted. I'm frustrated about it. But anyways, I don't even know how it got flagged. It's their auto mod thing, man. It's really weird. I'm glad auto mod don't allow that naming. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think there are more interesting languages that I can work with right now, personally. Like, I'm not forced to write TypeScript, so like, do I need to? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, does anyone hear it? If nobody cares about JavaScript, does anyone need to use it? Okay. All right, so let's go back to data for a second. So I need to grab our Cloudflare zone. Technically, I also need to do a quick Terraform in it, so that we can initialize our module. So you'll see this here, SPA POC. That means that this is a module that got initialized, right, from front-end static. And it's a module just like Cloudflare is and all, or well, not, these are plugins, but basically it's a module like the modules that Cloudflare owns and things like that as well. So it's basically just a series of resources that you can, reuse over and over and over. Okay, cool. So now that I've got that module, let's go back to main. Cool. Okay, so we've got our Cloudflare zone, or our Cloudflare provider set up. That's good. If I go back here, I think I need to... No, I don't need to set up anything for Cloudflare. Okay, so let's go back to data then really quickly. And I need to set up the data. So what's happening up until now is we're just creating Amazon resources, right? And if we go back to this chart here, which is technically the chart that I'm using for Hippo, this is an Amazon resource, right? This is an Amazon resource, the bucket, right? And these are the only really two things that we've really cared about outside of just like small things that these two rely on, right? So far in our investigation, me and you guys, and I'm saying our because I've gone further than this at work. Our investigation, we have just created basically a CloudFront distribution and a S3 bucket. What we want to do now is we want to tie in the Cloudflare part, right? So we want to actually get a DNS CNAME created pointed to that distribution, right? And it's going to do DNS only. We're not going to focus on trying to use it as a proxy. We're just going to do DNS only for now. And then we're going to use CloudFront CDN only to actually handle the routing once that CNAME is picked up, right? So that's what we're working on right now. We're basically getting Cloudflare, the DNS zone automation set up so that we can actually, once we've created our distribution here in Terraform, we can then use a CNAME for it. So to do that, we want to go back to our data file. And the reason for that is because we want to grab our Cloudflare zone from Cloudflare. Now, this is kind of up to you on what you want to do here with regards to Terraform, right? You could say, why do a data request on something that you can easily just have the, the variable or the value for directly, right? Like, I guess what I mean to say is why should I make an API request to find a Cloudflare zone if I can just get the Cloudflare zone ID and copy and paste it into my code, right? Well, your code might not always be right. Who knows? Maybe your Cloudflare zone accidentally got deleted. I don't know. Bad parameter. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I personally do not like doing that kind of thing, at least when we talk about making sure that it's dynamic as possible. Thank you for the follows, guys, by the way. I appreciate that. And so what I like to do, right, if we go back to our main at the top, look at this, zone name, right? It's a parameter that's required, right? And when I pass that parameter, look what it does. It looks up the Cloudflare zone based off of the zone name that I provide it, right? So this means that two things. One, it's completely customizable. If, I don't know, the zone is not there for some reason or whatever, I can easily just change it in the configuration. But it also means that it's going to verify that it exists and that it works before it tries to create any resources. So in the off chance that any resource depends on this, it's going to make a request to try and find this, and then it's go, oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about, BG. I got no idea what you're talking about. And so that's really why I like to do this. I like to say, all right, well, let's make it a parameter that then is looked up or, whatever later. Okay, so the other thing we're going to need as well is our AWS ACM certificate. And this one's going to be a little bit trickier because at Hippo, we actually have a much better standardization with regards to naming conventions for domains than I do at Alta 4. Alta 4 dev, right? So what I think we're going to do is we need the certificate to always match the zone name, right? And so once we look up the zone in Cloudflare, that means that we have to have an AWS ACM certificate, and that's what I was looking for earlier. When I came in here, right? And I was like, do I have a certificate? I do. Alta 4 dev, right? See, this is an Amazon issued certificate. This certificate makes it so that I can use SSL with this domain only, right? Alta 4 dev on Amazon cloud resources. But this also needs to be dynamic. It needs to be something that, like, if I ever change the domain, I want to be able to, provide it with a different SSL certificate. So what we're going to do, chat, is in this scenario, we're going to say, all right, well, the Cloudflare zone, right, expects the var zone name. The certificate expects the zone name, right, but with a prefix of a wildcard, right? So that means that if we're using a Cloudflare zone, we must have an AWS certificate that is a wildcard certificate. And not only that, we need to make sure that the provider, here's where that provider stuff comes into play, is AWS East 1, because that is where it's going to be. It's going to be in AWS East 1. I will stand. I purposely re-added that so I could be standing more again, chat. Does that make sense? Ask questions if you have them, please. If you don't, then man, I'm just really good at my job. I'm kidding, by the way. Sorry, I wasn't following. You weren't nice. Nice. Could you do it again? No. That is not a question I'm going to answer. Oh, hold on. There we go. That's better. Now I'm actually like standing and stuff on my what is this thing? It's like a skateboard, but for like standing. I don't know. Statuses. Okay. Statuses we're gonna say is issued, right? So we want to make sure Rollabola. I don't know. It's like this thing. Whatever this thing is. It's like a plank thing that's like bent at an angle. So like it helps me keep moving. It's nice. I like it. What's up, Noob Runner? How's it going? I don't know if I said hi to you, Quicksilver, as well, but hello. I know we've been talking, but I want to make sure I said hi. Okay, AWS ACM, front-end certificate, domain, cool. So what does this mean? This means that now we're going to create a front-end static Cloudflare deployment. It's going to rely on a specific domain that we provided in the module declaration at the top, right? So the zone name, altifor.dev, is now going to require a zone in Cloudflare, right? Which it exists, it's here, right? As well as a certificate in US East 1 for that domain on a wildcard. So again, if we had a different domain, right? If I say, for example, I was like, all right, let's say that we want this to be dev, but we want this to be on, I don't know, FlubyFlorb, right? FlubyFlorb.com, right? Then I would need to have, right, FlubyFlorb.com in Cloudflare set up like this. And I would also need to have a certificate in AWS set up like this with a wildcard of that domain. Make sense? Cool. All right, so let's keep moving. Keep moving on. Thank you for the follows, guys. I appreciate that. All right, so actually data. I think that's all we need. So we've got the wildcard zone. And actually, if I wanted to like tie these together so we weren't saying like this could fail in two places, I could technically do data Cloudflare zone dot front end static. Oops, that's a macro. That's awesome. I accidentally triggered my macro. That's great. Cloudflare zone dot front end static public dot. I don't remember data Cloudflare zone front end. Oh, it's just dot name. Yeah, there we go. So now what's going to happen is we're actually going to look for Cloudflare first. If it doesn't exist in Cloudflare, then we're not going to be able to look it up in AWS because this needs to be here first. We'll say this is here first, and then if this exists, then we'll look up the actual AWS certificate as well. What do I have in front of me? What do you mean? Oh, you mean like what do I keep looking down at? I'm looking down at my work laptop. If that's what you're talking about. Yeah, my work laptop's below me. What's up, Noob Runner? I don't know if you provided that information, but is there a reason using Cloudflare over Route 53 or is it just a personal preference? So normally when you rely on Cloudflare, you also rely on its WAF, right? It's firewall essentially. When we're talking about production services, I normally use Cloudflare and its WAF because it's just cheaper. So yes, when that would be the big difference is like for $20 a month at Cloudflare, you can get a pretty stinking good WAF. And I've compared the WAF to prices on Amazon WAF, and it's like at Hippo, it wouldn't matter. At Hippo, we use whatever we need, right? We use Cloudflare at Hippo though, just because we already had that set up. And a lot of our routing is already through Cloudflare. And we use a lot of other things with Cloudflare as well, like its bot detection. Again, its WAF is really good for the price that you get. Have I used AWS as WAF? Yes, I have. I've used it many times. It's just expensive. That's all. Del Void, what's up, man? How's it going, buddy? How are you? But yeah, no, M Nuggets, it's just a price thing. When it, like, right now, it's just a price thing. Where I work, it's not, right? Like, where I work, it's not a price thing. Yeah. Yo, thank you for the follow, man. I appreciate that. First time chatter coming in and just following right away, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. And you'll get those two different advantages. Like, I think that's one thing that's really helpful about our stream as well. Like, you get it from both sides. You're going to get it from a new business owner, me, who's, like, trying to build his own company and, like, all this other crap on a budget. Balling on a budget, baby. And then, I work for, like, a $500 million whatever. I don't know what we're evaluated at, but whatever. Like, a normal big company that it does. It's just monopoly money to them. So, yeah, I show you both. Okay, so data looks good. We've got our certificate now. We need to go back to the main of here because I think we need to update the actual distribution now, right? I'm great. Had a cuddle with the little one that turned into an afternoon nap. Oh, that sounds nice. That sounds nice. I'm glad that you had a nice, enjoyable, and probably very peaceful nap. All right, local bucket name. Okay, so aliases. We just said that we set up the domain. So what is the domain of this server or of this front end going to be? Well, it's going to be var dot name, right? So in this case, the name would be what's it called? What did we call it? Charming Archimedes. Right? Or actually, no, we didn't call it Charming Archimedes. Oh, we need to get rid of this. So let's fix this. Let's fix this really quick. Woo! Somebody hit it. Somebody hit the command wall. It's all good. Peace. It happens to everybody. How you doing, buddy? By the way, if you guys are interested in any commands, now's your opportunity. It's like a bunch of money just gets thrown out in front of everybody. Everybody goes like, oh man, there's so many commands. I just got to try them all out. How did I do this? I don't remember. So I say the bucket name is the service name in the environment. So the bucket name in this case is the var.name, right? Oh, we got to delete that one. That one's actually not even a thing. I mean, obviously we're friends with all of those people, but we're not actually in only devs isn't even a thing anymore. Let me delete that really quickly. Portal.quirk.tools. Bum. Oh, here, I'll just do it over here. Oh, yeah, I'm like already right there. Chatbot commands. Which one was it again? It was, yeah, only devs. Only devs. Delete. Boop. Again, do go check out our friends, but only devs itself is not a thing anymore. Try not to use cloud registrars on a budget. You can't change name servers unless you're on a plan. Ooh. Seriously? They lock you in to keeping... They literally lock you into keeping your domain where it is until you pay them for a service to allow you to get it out of there. Wow, that's pretty stupid. All right, and so here's where we're going to prefix our bucket. Alta4 LLC dash name, right? And then environment, right? And so this is where we do our prefixing, right? This is the only way I know how to do the prefixing is basically just dynamic variables and stuff like that. And so again, what will happen is this will become Alta4 LLC SPAPOC dev, right? Because the name is SPAPOC, all that good stuff. Cool. Okay. All right, so that's our bucket name. So that means that it'll create our bucket with the name Alta4 LLC, blah, 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 blah. Good. That's fine. Example, we'll say Alta4 LLC example static front end. Perfect. And then the bucket policy is fine. Distribution, the origin ID can be the bucket name, which is fine. Okay, let's look down here again at the work I did yesterday. Okay, so aliases. So aliases needs to be var name dash var.environment, right? So it's going to be a little different than how we name our bucket. And then dot zone or data dot Cloudflare zone dot front, right? Because we want to get it from the actual data that we got. We don't want to have to like request it. You know, we don't want to reuse that zone name variable. We only want to use that zone name variable once, and that's for the query. Everywhere else, it's just the actual data value itself, right? So in this case, data Cloudflare zone front end static public name is going to be the TLD. So this should translate if we try and do this. So var name in this case will be SPA POC, right? Dash dev, right? Dot alt F4 dot dev. So that's what the domain should get created as. SPA POC dev dot alt F4 dot dev. So we have two devs, but that's because dev in this case is like our complete development domain where all of our development goes. And dev here is like just the dev environment. Very nice looking. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that too. Thank you. Bye only devs. Only devs was gone a long time ago. Only devs been gone for a while. We're still all friends though, so that's good. Okay. So is this what I want? SPA POC dev. I guess so. Missing the Friday game night with everyone. Yeah, we couldn't do that. That didn't have as much longevity as we wished it did, unfortunately. It was very difficult to keep that going. At work, we were trying to move away from Cloudflare's name server and a CDN to CloudFront and R53, probably AWS WAF 2. I'm going to be real with you, Korean Jedi. That's probably where we're going to. What's up, Big Log Kana, by the way, dude? How's it going, buddy? And Sully, it's good to see you, too. Hello. But yeah, no. That's a conversation I'm having quite often. I'm getting ready to head to the DC area. Any places you recommend? I've never been to DC. So unfortunately, I don't have any recommendations. But yeah, no, we're talking about that at Hippo right now, where just because we do only use Cloudflare as our, CDN or as our CDN and proxy or, WAF at the moment, do we need to, right? Like, there's a lot of benefits that AWS WAF can provide. Maybe we should do some of that. So this is part of that experimentation as well. Is we might even deploy an AWS WAF today and take a look at it. So this is, again, stay tuned, chat. We got tons of stuff going on today. All right, buddy. We'll see you soon. Appreciate the lurk as always. SPA POC dev. I think for now this is fine because what's going to happen is if we do prod, right, then that's going to be prod.alt4.dev, right? And again, for now, this is the only domain we can use, so it is what it is. It's fine. I'm not too worried about it. All right, so this will say example. Actually, let's say alt F4 LLC example static front end, right? Because that's the comment up here in the access origin. Default root object is going to be index.html. It's enabled IPv6. That all looks good. Okay, so here's something we want to do really quickly in the default cache behavior. We want to change the viewer protocol policy from allow all to redirect to HTTPS. Because we have an SSL certificate now, we can lean on that, right? And that's because we have this alias here as well, right? This alias of var name, blah, 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 right? So what's going to happen is whenever anybody tries going to our distribution, it should redirect to SSL. The price class should still be 100. Whitelist is good. All right, so let's do the viewer certificate stuff. So the viewer certificate stuff is going to change slightly. We're going to get rid of that. And we're going to say ACM certificate ARN, right? And that's where data AWS ACM certificate comes in. .arn. Bam, right there. Perfect. Minimum protocol version. We're going to enable this now, right? We want to make sure that we're using TLS 1.2 so that we have the latest TLS. And we're going to keep SNI only enabled as well. So now what we've got, right, is we've basically got, again, most of our, if not all of our AWS infrastructure here. And we've also made it into a module. And this module does, in fact, go out and grab some data as well from like Cloudflare or AWS so that we can, you know, use some pre-existing domain and SSL certificate with our provisioning. The last thing we need to do is we actually need to go to Cloudflare, right? And we need to set up our record. And so to do that, it's going to be Cloudflare record, right? Because we're going to create a Cloudflare record. And this is going to be our front end static public record, right? This will be the public record, or I guess we could just say, well, front end static for now. It'll be the front end static record. Okay, so name equals, so what do we want our name to be? This is going to be essentially the same name as the alias, right? And if we wanted to, I guess what we could do is we could say server, or let's do this, aliases, right? And we'll give ourselves a new value or set of values here that we can reuse pretty much everywhere. So this is now, actually, instead of using aliases, we'll just use alias because we'll only have one for right now. Up here, let's get rid of this, right? Put that in, bam. Var name, var environment. Okay, aliases, data Cloudflare zone. Cool. And so what we'll do is we'll, instead of saying aliases, we'll just say alias, right? Or we could say domain, I guess. Say that as well. And then wherever it is aliases, right? We just say local.domain. And then here. Oh, crap. Never mind. Dang it. These need to be separated. So I could still do that. That's fine. But in this case, they actually still need to be separated. So I'm not going to keep this. I just realized the Cloudflare one just wants the front too. So if that's the case, then we'll just say name like this. Var dot. So it was what now? Yeah, var dot name dash var dot environment. There we go. Okay. Yeah. And so that'll make sure that it creates it properly. It only needs the first two. It doesn't need the actual TLD, which is also for.dev, because we're going to tell it, we're going to say, okay, proxied false, right? Proxied false, TTL equals 0, type equals CNAME, right? And then value equals AWS CloudFront distribution dot domain name. There we go. And then zone ID is going to be our data Cloudflare zone dot ID. Just like that. Yo, Mr. Kappa, what's up, man? How's it going? AWS what? What's what do you mean, Delvoid? What's up? The name, it's Winter Soldier. What's up, Leonidas? How's it going? Okay, cool. So we now have most of the infrastructure I've already created yesterday in place now, right? And so it really does handle a lot of the routing that we've been talking about. We just added the last resource, which is going to create the record in Cloudflare, right? And then that record is going to get pointed to our CloudFront distribution, which we've already had. The bucket will get created, and that distribution will then be pointed to that bucket, right? So again, most of this stuff is already kind of in place. We just did a bit more standardization, right? Which is stuff I would be doing at Hippo as well, right? Like giving the bucket name a proper prefix, Alta 4 LLC, making sure that its var name is set to, you know, whatever we set here. So again, the name SPA POC, right? That is going to be translated to Alta 4 LLC SPA POC. And then the last thing is the environment, right? And that's var environment. So technically this bucket will be Alta 4 LLC SPA POC dev, right? That's gonna be the bucket name. And if we wanted to, we could even just say SPA if we wanted to not have so many things. And this is our our single page application. If we wanted to make it a little bit more realistic, we'd probably call this portal. Yeah, this would be like the portal, right? Like the Quirk portal or something like that. But for now, we're just going to call it SPA. So that means that this bucket will actually now be Alta4 LLC SPA dev, right? Actually, let's say SPA POC. Sure. Because it's technically a proof of concept. Okay, cool. So then the bucket will get created with that name. The ACL or the access block will get created. The identity, like we said, the bucket policy. And then our distribution. Our distribution now has an alias, which is the SPA POC -environment dot our domain name, right? We set up SSL to redirect to HTTPS now. And then we also set up our viewer certificate to be our static public one that's in US East. And then the last and final thing is we set up that Cloudflare record that points to our distribution on our zone. Yeah, that all looks good. All right, let's give this a shot. I am down. Let's try it. So we're going to say Doppler, project, Terraform, plan. Oh, hang on. Sorry, what now? Is this NeoVim Qt or the terminal? This is just the terminal. The terminal is just, the terminal is just Kitty. There we go. Okay, so you can see here, do you notice how it says module not installed, right? SPA POC. That's because it wasn't. We're using modules. And so because we're using modules, we actually have to do a Terraform init every time. So for example, if I was to go here and then I'd be like SPA POC 2, right? And then I was to do a plan, this should fail. Yeah, see, because it's like, I don't know what SPA module 2 is. And so then if I ran a Terraform init, it would then see that module. So that is one slight caveat to modules, is they don't just kind of work out of the box. You actually have to, you actually have to like initialize them when you use them with the Terraform init. So there we go. So we got our init, bam. And now if we do a plan, this should work. Okay, cool. And so let's take a look at this. What do we got? What do we got? So at the very top, we're going to create our policy document. It's going to say that it allows get object from AWS identifiers and resources that we'll know after apply. The reason why these two are known after apply is simply because they haven't been created yet, right? These are dependencies of other dependencies, basically. Then we have our CloudFront distribution. Look at this, spapoc.dev.alta4.dev. So we know a couple things already just by looking at our alias. One, right, that we are properly creating the domain name that we need to. But two, look at this. If this wasn't populated, what would that mean, chat? If you've been paying attention, which is fine if you haven't, but if you have, what would this mean if this wasn't populated, essentially? Does anybody know? I think I have something sitting on top of my computer. What are you buzzing? Which one? The domain here. So this domain, right, we're getting from a specific place. I'll just give it to you. So the TLDR is that, remember, this is actually a reference from a data lookup that we do, right? So if I was to do nvim really quickly and then go back to data, right, this is our Cloudflare zone. And if we go to our if we go to our, hold on, where did we go? Here. If we go to our distribution, look what the alias has in it, right? The data Cloudflare zone. So essentially what that means is that if Cloudflare wasn't able to find that DNS zone for some reason, this would have failed. It would have never worked. But because our plan is actually populating the zone based off of the data entry that we're looking up, that means that we actually know that it's going out to Cloudflare, it's finding that zone, and it's populating properly. That's good. That means that we should be able to do a SPA POC-dev.alta4.dev pretty easily, right? HTTP2, price class 100. All of this looks pretty straightforward. Our target origin, this is going to be our bucket, right? Alta4 LLC, SPA POC-dev, redirect to HTTPS. Here's our restrictions. Bam, look at this. Here's our certificate. Here's our East 1, right? We said that it had to be in US East 1. By the way, guys, thank you for the follows. I appreciate you. You're so kind. Yeah, it has to be in US East 1. Okay, cool. There's our certificate. That looks good. Origin access, this is all fine. S3 bucket, Alta4 LLC, SPA, POC-dev. This looks good. Most of this looks pretty solid, chat. Bucket policy, public access block. And then there it is, the Cloudflare record. So, and the zone ID, right, means that it found the actual zone that it should be attaching itself to. In this case, it's whatever this is, 1867 something something. Which if we go here, hold on. Yeah, if you look right here, I know it's kind of hard to see, but what I'm highlighting right here, this is that number. It's the 186 blah blah blah. So that means that it found alta4.dev domain as well. So we should be able to run this, honestly. We should be able to just apply this. So let's do it. And what we're going to do before we apply it is we're going to open up a couple of pages of places where we know things are going to get created. First off, we know that something's going to get created in S3, right? So we should be getting a new bucket. That's going to be one of the things that we should see. However, we should see a bucket in US West 2. So that's something to note is we should see a bucket in US West 2, right? We're also going to create a CloudFront distribution. So that means that after the bucket gets created, we then should be able to come into CloudFront, go to distributions, and see a new distribution here. CloudFront's global, so it should be basically available anywhere. Outside of that, we then have our DNS zone, which will be created right here along with our other DNS zones, right? So we're going to kind of follow along with this. We're going to look for our bucket to get created first, and then we're going to look for our CloudFront distribution, and then we're going to look for our DNS file, and then basically I'm going to give you the zone, and you should be able to route to it by then. So here we go. Would you eventually split these modules since you don't want to update stuff like your S3, etc.? I think it might be done. Could you check the CNAME record? Oh, it's not. I haven't run it yet. I literally haven't run it yet. That was just a plan, Sparky Dev. Yeah, that was just a plan. So that's a good question, right? That's a really good question. That's going to be up to the developer, honestly, like or I should say the engineer who does it. At Hippo, we do have like repositories that handle specific things like bucket management, network management. You guys have seen me do it with Alta4. That's because we do the same thing at Hippo. Oh, hang on a second. Hold on. Missing stand up today. Still streaming. Just a heads. Hold on, I got a message. Just a heads. Heads up. Will be missing stand up today. Cool. All right. All right, let me apply this really quickly. What was I saying? But yeah, pick. So that's going to be entirely up to you. We have found at Hippo, for example, one of the things that we really want, I'm applying this now, by the way, chat. So if we go here, we should see our bucket already. Yep, there's our bucket, Alta4 SPA POC dev. There's our bucket. There's our CloudFront distribution. Look at this. Domain's already created, and it's deploying it. So we're already in the process of creating this. But to go back to your question, Pick, like, one of the things that we kind of noticed at Hippo was our repositories not being bound to our service directory is kind of a bad thing. So like right now, you have to create a repository separately from creating services, essentially, is the TLDR on that. And it can definitely become frustrating when like a service has been added, but there's no repository for it. So there's no source code, so nothing can be deployed. So we basically have a broken service. And so this is like a solid argument of saying like, okay, maybe it's a better idea for us to put, you know, the repository creation in service directory so that, you know, if you create a service, you get your repository with it. And if you delete your service, then what do you do with that repository? That's kind of the next question, right? So I think like it's totally up to you, but I also think that you just have to be aware of the gotchas, like what, you know, where it's going to help you and where it's not. If you're changing things a lot, right, then maybe all of those changes need to be in one place. There's no blanket way of splitting these up. Not really. Yeah, not really. You have a playlist for everything you're doing now. Really interesting stuff. It's all on our YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube, there's 2 YouTube channels. The first YouTube channel is our main YouTube channel. That's like our new one that I'm working on, trying to like put out really curated content and stuff like that, right? That is where you go and find like the things that's basically not on Twitch. The archives, however, is the second link. That one is all of our VODs, right? So the last VOD is 9/19. That was a month ago. We honestly only streamed a couple of times last month, so we've got a couple of VODs we need to update or upload, but all of our VODs go in there. Yeah. Hey, I might be a little bit on late on the chat. Could you share the architecture? Yeah. So this is basically the architecture right here. This is something I'm working on, again, for work as well. And the main idea here, yeah, of course, dude, thank you. I'm never going to stop you from viewing our content. So thank you. And I hope it helps. Again, I'm trying to, like, the titles of the YouTube videos I'm trying to make them as descriptive as possible. You'll notice that some of the recent videos have just got dates as the titles. That's just simply because I'm a dummy and forgot to put the titles in. But I'm going to update those titles. And again, hopefully the titles at least help you a bit with knowing like what we did. You know what I mean? We had a bike for 2 hours tomorrow, so we'll have something to watch. Hell yeah. Well, I won't be here tomorrow, so that works perfectly. But yeah, this is basically the TLR of the infrastructure that we're creating, right? We're creating a CDN, CloudFront distribution, that's being pointed to via a Cloudflare DNS name, just DNS, no proxying or anything like that, to make serverless front-end deployments. And so right now we're just waiting for this distribution to finish deploying. If I click on it, for example, you could see, well, there's my, SSL certificate. There's my domain. The domain hasn't been created yet, right? Like if I refresh here, we won't see the SPA thing. Yeah, see, it's not here yet. That's because the distribution isn't up yet, right? Well, now it is. So actually, now that I refresh it, it should be there. Yeah, there it is. Now it's there, SPAC. So let's try it. So I'm going to just copy this, paste it. Bam. Now it says access is denied. That's fine. The reason why this is saying access is denied is simply because I don't have anything in the bucket. So let's do this really quickly. We're going to do S3. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, here we go. AWS S3 CP index.html. And then we need to copy it into our bucket. So right now, chat, if you try going to this, it won't work, right? Like if you try going to this right now, here you go. There's the domain. That's our proof of concept domain. If you guys want to click on it and see if it at least gives you this, it should. But once I go to the bucket itself, right? Copy that. And then we do S3 like that. Index.html. And we refresh. Hi, chat. There we go. And so now if you guys refresh, I will say this. If you are within the 5 countries that I have allowed you to view it, there are geographic restrictions. If you are in Canada, Germany, the United Kingdom, or the United States, you should be able to load that. If you are not, then you won't be able to. However, yeah, you should be able to load that now. And so what is happening is exactly what we said, right? This is a CDN, or this is a UK Works. Hell yeah. Thank you, Yanni. I appreciate that. Or Yanni. Yeah, sorry, Yanni. I appreciate that. You don't like Sweden? Oh, no, we didn't do Sweden. Hold on. We can do Sweden. We can do Sweden. Hold on. Sweden. What is, I don't know what the actual, like, code is for Sweden. Hold on. Where's the distribution? Here we go. Edit. Is it just SE? There you go. Turkey, Sage. Turkey. All right, here, hold on. So Sweden's been added. Turkey. Who else? Egypt. Got you. Kosovo, just kidding. Denmark. Ah, dude, we never get Denmark. We always forget about Denmark. I'm so sorry. You're welcome. All right, try it now. Try Kosovo. We could try Kosovo. Sure. Is it in here? No, it's not. Sorry, it is not. Okay, so anybody who could not load it before, give it a few seconds. It should start. It won't work until you redeploy. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we have to wait for. Well, it's actually redeploying right now. Right, so it will take care of the redeploy itself. You're absolutely right. I keep forgetting that triggers a redeploy technically. Yeah. So give it a few minutes, and then once this is done redeploying, we should get works in Sweden. Yes. I see hi chat. That's what you should see. You should see that. Hell yeah. So that means it's propagating now. Awesome. Okay, cool. So what does this mean? So this means that we basically have a, like I said, we have a Cloudflare DNS zone, just a Cloudflare DNS zone that is pointed to a CloudFront CDN, right? And remember, there's no proxying here whatsoever. It's just DNS only, right? So we're not relying on we're not relying on Cloudflare's WAF really at all right now. We're just using them for DNS. So we've got that in place. We've got our distribution in place, right? And we've got our bucket set up as well. Works in the country of Pennsylvania. Hell yeah. What is the topic that's being covered today? Hit that sweet exclamation mark today in chat, my friend. I thought if you redeploy TF again in the future, it will override those values. It might. I don't know if it'll actually override them or if it'll just recognize that they've changed. Let's see. Yeah, see this? Yeah. So okay, so yeah, you're right. It will. Yeah, it will. It will. Okay, so let's do this really quickly. So it's DK, EG, SE, and TR. Main. DG SE, what was it? DG SE, EG and TR, EG and TR, EG and TR, EG and TR, EG, Egypt and Turkey. DK, not DG. Oh, yeah, you're right. EG, not DG. Yep. DG, DK, Denmark. Duh. Sorry, I don't mean to insult your country. I apologize. How's your experience with AWS Lambdas? We use them everywhere at Hippo. We have a lot of them. I don't know. What do you want to know? Do you want to hear me rant for 20 minutes about how much I hate them? Or do you want me to like rant for 20 minutes on like how nice they can be? The great country of Denmark. So Korean Jedi, it depends, man. It really depends. If you're good at messaging, if you're good at like distributed systems, if you know how to write like, really atomically, well-written lambdas, like if you know how to do those things, right? Then yeah, like I think lambdas can be really great. You have to be willing to accept, you have to be willing to accept the caveats to the lambdas, right? Like cold start, things like that. Like you have to be able to accept like how the infrastructure works. Like, best way of using Lambdas is like using Amazon, gateways or load balancer gateways and stuff like, you know what I mean? Like, if you adhere to it, Lambdas can be pretty dope. But if you just try using a Lambda on itself, it's very circumstantial in use case. Heard only bad things. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It really depends on how, like again, if you're like super Amazon driven and, adding a little Lambda somewhere can like really like add a whole bunch of throughput to like what you're doing and stuff, like it could be worth it. I just don't know many infrastructures that are that way, where they're like that distributed across Amazon resources to where it's actually super valuable like that. But I mean, we are even in some regards, so I guess I can't say too much, but yeah, that's my main thing on it, is just that they're nice if you're really drinking the Amazon Kool-Aid, right? If you're not, they're challenging. We only use them because we have crazy spiky traffic, so it's amazing for it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, stuff like that is super nice, yeah. And if you're talking about like just basic stuff, Lambdas can be really great. If you're talking about anything more than that, yeah, you got to have a really good design, I think. What is the CPU memory thing? It's called BTM, bottom. My disappointment is immense. You must stand before the queen and have her judge you. She will most likely give you a what? Wait, what? Oh, gotcha. Oh, the queen. Okay, my bad. I didn't realize we were talking about Denmark for a second. I was like, what? What queen? A question for later. Is it worth to complete the AWS certificate solution for architect? I think it's worth it if you want to learn things. That's about it, right? Like I had a close friend of mine hit me up the other day because he's gonna start potentially looking for some jobs, and he was like, oh man, like do you do what's it called, leak code? I was like, no. No. I do not do that. He's like, really? Like you don't do leak code? I'm like, no, I don't. And so like, he's like, he was fascinated by that. He was like, I can't believe you do that. I was like, yeah, I just don't subscribe to that. Like if your company like is going to force me to do leak code, I probably just don't want to work at your company. That's the reality of it. You know what I mean? That means you churn so many people and you have no idea what you're doing, that if leak code is the way that you describe and set your velocity, it's not a good one. You need to be able to look at the job role and be like, okay, is leak code worth it? Is this person going to be sitting here writing algorithms? Like if it's a part of the job, then okay, sure, maybe. But like, yeah, like if I went into a DevOps role and they were like, do a leak code, I'd be like, okay, you know what? No, we're good. You guys have a good one. See you never. Don't try an IPO. But yeah, like I just don't think it's a good metric. I personally don't. So talking about that, I kind of apply the same thing to certificates, right? Certificates are really, really great as like a learning tool, but I don't think they're something that's going to get you a job. You know what I mean? I think they can maybe help you tack on some more money to your current job, right? It also may mean that you're going to have more responsibility. So just remember that. With great responsibility, or with great power comes great responsibility. I've got too much of it. And so yeah, like there's that other side. It's totally, yeah, it's up to you. I personally think, again, it's more so if you're really interested in learning and you want to try and be the best that you can, so to speak, with regards to the cloud platform you're using and stuff like that. Yeah. But I mean, if that's the case, then you should do it for every cloud platform. And that's one of the reasons why I don't get certificates, is because I work on every cloud platform. I work on Google, I work on Amazon, I work on Azure. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a little different. You know what I mean? I hope that helps. Certification or not, the final test is the platform bill. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If you know how to cut the costs. I rarely see leak code asked on SRE. I mean, yeah, SRE for sure. It's a little bit different, but I've seen it. It's not that outlandish to think it would happen. Yeah. I started to think that easy leak code are good. Easy way to find if someone can really code. I mean, yeah, if you're like, here's another thing too, man. And I gotta be fair on this one. I've been in the game for 10 years. If somebody hits me with anything less than a senior role, I'm just gonna be like, bye. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do that anymore, I guess is a better way of putting it. I'm not in that rat race. Like, I'm just not, you know? Yeah. So I don't know. That may sound super arrogant. I really don't want it to sound arrogant. It's just more like, yeah, I think that is something. You're absolutely right. I think that is something that more of if you're trying to distinguish, like, can this person program? For sure. I've been doing this for 10 years. At this point, if I can't program, I have been fooling a lot of people. And I've been very good at it. So yeah, it's more of that for me, at least. Do you use Dropbox or Google Drive for storing code? We are thinking about changing to Dropbox. For storing code? Wait, what are we talking about? Sorry. What? Pravan, I'm super confused on what you're talking about. Do you mean like deployment code? And you fool them on live stream too? Yeah. I try to, at least. I try to. Yeah, like, okay, God, dude. You got to put a cap in there, bro. You got to put a cap in there. When you said, oh my God, when you were about to be like, let's put our front ends in Google Drive, I was going to hit you. Somehow. I was going to figure out a way of like virtually slapping you. That's a way to trigger me. That'll trigger me, chat. That's a way to... Hey, man, can we put it into Google Drives? That's highly available too, right? Okay, so... Sorry, let's get back to where we were. Let's get back... Purge him. Yeah, purge him. I almost banned you for that one. Using Windows Explorer as Git. Oh, God, Smedward. Calm down. Calm down. Don't do that. It hurts. It hurts. It, like, literally hurts. Okay, chat, focus, quit trolling. Focus. Because then you're just gonna get me to troll and it's too much fun. Just SCP to prod, man. Yes! Oh, dude, I was waiting for somebody to say SCP. I was waiting for somebody to say it. Good old fashioned SCP. So we just store the .env in the Google. Yeah, dude, right on the top of the Google Drive where everybody can see it. I just look at the new file and write all the changes down in my notebook. Cool. So it never goes anywhere. Nice. I like that. I just think about them, but don't ever actually do it. Any advices to a sophomore? I'm still not sure which branch to focus on because all of them seem exciting. Sophomore of what? High school or college? Sorry, I never know with Twitch chat sometimes. SCP, FTP, not SFTP, but FTP. The drunk Dane's like, nah, dog, we're doing this insecurely. You're going to accept my packets whether you want them or not. Ooh, I don't like that. No, I'm good. I'm good on the FTP. College. Okay, college. I mean, what interests you, man? Seriously, what interests you? Like, that question is the hardest question for you and the easiest question for me. I could tell you tons of stuff to go into, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the ones that you like. What are you interested in? What do you like doing? You know, do you like building front ends? Do you like building back ends? Do you like solving problems? Like, you know, you're about 2 years in, so I mean, it depends on how much you've actually already done at college, but I feel like you might have some idea already. USB, why not floppy? Yeah, okay. Yo, all in winter, dude. All in winter. Dude, thank you so much for the 10 gifted subbies, buddy. I was not expecting that. How are you, by the way? Thank you so much, dude. If you guys don't know, All in Winter is constantly gifting subs to the community, supporting us, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. For the 10 gifted subbies, Valid and I, and Tony Killer, Control Squid. Jeez, I cannot type. Or type. Did I just say I cannot type? Oh my God, I'm tired. Walkie Talkie, Die Hard, BN, It's Super Maddox, Alex, Empress Fox, Ganja X Girl, and Binary. Hey, be sure to thank your gifter who got you a free sub, and now you're stuck here. Hi, All in Winter. How's it going, buddy? Dude, thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs, man. Seriously, thank you. I hope you've been well. You don't what you want to do in sophomore? What? I don't know. What? I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was English. But again, All in Winter, thank you so much, man. And George, I'm just asking, what's their name? what they're interested in their sophomore career path thing right now. Hey, how's it going? I didn't get it, my man. Yeah, I was a little confused on that one as well. Curious if you joined HIPAA while it was private. Do you recommend joining a Series C plus company? I did join HIPAA while it was a private company. I did. I joined it not for that purpose though, and I got to be clear on that. I'm gonna be real. I am not the greatest at doing the engineering job from the like engineering like recruitment thing from a stock perspective. I know some people who have been able to jump from company to company and like keep making money. I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of the companies I've gone to, when we talk about like stocks and stuff like that, I'm gonna give you real hard truth here, chat. Look at me. This is real. Most of it's Play-Doh money, or most of it's just Monopoly money. You have a higher chance of leaving the company because you are depressed, sad, not enjoying yourself, and losing all of your stock. And that's something that like so many people go through and like so many people don't think about or consider. It is great to get 250K, 300,000, 500,000 in stock and just be like, hell yeah, man, I got this. Like once those babies vest, hell yeah, 3 years later. But then like, you don't think, am I going to be happy in 3 years? Am I going to be where I want to be? You just think about the money, right? That sweet, sweet moolah, right? And so you keep thinking about that money and then you keep going, man, if it wasn't for that money, I wouldn't be here right now. And then you'd go, man, where's that money? And that's what happens. That's what happens. It's happened to me more than once. And it's been too often where I've literally left a company year and a half in with like, honestly, pretty good stock options and stuff like that too. But then had to just be like, well, giving it back. You know what I mean? Because like, you can't keep it. You have to, there's always agreements within these contracts where like, if you don't stay for 3 years, like they take it back. You know what I mean? So, that's my answer to that one. If you think it's a company that you're really excited about, that you're interested in, that you would want to work at, then go for it and do your best. You know what I mean? Try and make a really awesome opportunity at the company. However, so the easiest way to put it really is like companies are a lot like relationships, like dating somebody. You know, you want to go into work excited, you know, like there's bad days. Sure. There's bad days, but like you want to be excited, you know, you want to run into the offices or, you know, sign on Slack and be excited about what you're working on. And like, honestly, you like just as a relationship, like you should not sacrifice for anything less, you know? And like, as I've gotten older, especially, you know, in my work career, I've learned that more and more. I've been brokenhearted so many times by companies where I drank the Kool-Aid really hard and, you know, found out that 9 times out of 10, a company doesn't care about you. Hard truth. It sucks, but it's a hard truth. They'll support you, but like, nah, dude, no company really gives two shits about you at the end of the day. You're an employee and you're there to do your job and you are replaceable. So with that being said, talking about going to companies, all that kind of stuff, just remember that like you should get as much as you can out of this and enjoy yourself as much as possible. And like, you might be a junior engineer who's never programmed before your life and you're going to, you know, sit down at Amazon. Who cares, bro? All right. That person sitting in front of you is a person just like you are. They are fallible just like you are. And guess what? That huge company one day will not exist. It will be rubble. None of this matters. So just fucking have fun and do it, man. Go enjoy yourself. Go somewhere you enjoy working, you know? Like that's that's my perspective on going to a company. Like that's my perspective. Hi, Empress Fox. How's it going? Hello, hello. Hope you're having a good day. Lunchtime prep talk with BG. Yeah. I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough. I don't know. I've worked at a few companies where I was there for far too long, and I should have left way sooner. And I think the biggest regret I probably had was just not leaving sooner. You know, like I was glad I was there and I got to experience what I did, but like, yeah, I'm never going to take a job where most of the comp is in stock for that reason. That's it. Yeah. A lot of compensation being in stock is potentially a gotcha, because that means that you have to trust the company more than you can trust yourself, honestly. And that's scary. I can make really good software, but I can't force stupid business people to make good decisions. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's a little bit challenging. Thoughts on data science? I think data science is awesome. I think it's really cool. I think it's when it's applied properly, it's really cool. I just don't use it enough, but I do think it's really cool. Stoding, hello, hello. Thank you for the follow. Foswa, hello, hello as well. Sorry to like really change the vibe on you guys for a second. I don't want to bullshit you guys. Like, the reality of it is you guys are going into an industry that is incredibly competitive, incredibly male driven, incredibly ego driven. And most of the time you're going to question your intelligence when the reality of it is 9 times out of 10, you're probably smarter than the person that is questioning your intelligence. They're simply doing that as a way of fucking with you or some shit. Like 9 times out of 10, it's people that suck at companies, not the actual, you know, product and or thing you're working on. So yeah. You know, like, and here's the thing that happened to me, and this happens to me all the time. I'm dumb. Like, I'm just gonna be real. I am dumb. I am a dumb, immediately, like, you know, like, if I see something cool that just like resonates with my soul, I'm just like, I have to do this. Like, this is so, like, because like I'm a very much like a, you know, live your life, like, and, you know, enjoy. And it's so rare where like I find a company or something like that I have that experience with. And when I first got into engineering, that's how I felt at my first company, Media Temple. I was so excited. I was getting my first engineering job. I was like, you know, and here's the thing. I had no idea at the time that the company was about to be sold. We were going to get sold to GoDaddy. During the selling process, the CEO was basically going to walk away with his money and be like, peace out. And then there would be a massive restructure. Like, think about this, chat. I'm super excited for basically getting in this like relationship essentially for work, right? During that time, I have no idea that all this other crap's going on in the background that's just gonna be like make me completely miserable later on. And so like I went in super hard. Like I was at the office until like 6 o'clock every night. I was like playing pool at the pool table. Like I loved being there. I had like 30 friends. Like it was like, you know, that it was insane. Like I was very well known at the company. And I never thought it would end. And then we got bought out by GoDaddy. And I have never seen so many arrogant and like just soulless people as I have seen when a massive enterprise company purchases you and like starts to gut your company. And GoDaddy is one. Like, dude, I'm sorry, I got nothing good to say about GoDaddy. Guess what, GoDaddy? We're never fucking working together, and that's because I'm choosing it, not you. So get over it. Like, I'm never working with GoDaddy. They have literally left a bad taste in my mouth. And so that's why I'm like now, like, you know, I've gone through 2 other buyouts. The company I went, you know, or basically when the GoDaddy stuff happened, the whole company changed. They gutted our sales service and like made it their own. Like, it sucked, man. It completely. So somebody asked me, when do you start noticing? Right? Like when do you know? Like when do you start looking in other directions? Essentially, when you're sad, or when you're starting to feel sad. I think I think you have to be true to yourself. I'm not very great at being true to myself. I wish I was better at it. I do, because if I was, I'd probably be a lot more respectful to myself too. And I think that's something that we all probably have to, a pill we all have to swallow in some shape or form. Is a lot of the things we do to ourselves because we're not as respectful to ourselves as we wish we were. And yeah, I would say that is what that category falls in. You know what I mean? Do you have any docs on your terminal setup? This looks very cool. Yeah. Go to our YouTube. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Whisper. Yeah. There's a good short book on this called The Dip. Ooh, I would like to read this. I like books. But yeah, I mean, it's, it sucks. Teaches you when to quit as a oh, I think I've heard about this book. Yeah, this looks really good. I do want to read that. But yeah, no, for me personally, like, that's what it was. It was just, I just started feeling heartbreak, honestly. And I was like, well, who's helping who here, Been there, don't do that. Didn't evolve anything for the last 1.5 years at my last job. Wanted to try stuff and learn stuff, but never got the option to do that. Was always build this and that and so on. Same, literally exactly the same. Hey, we got so here's, do you want to, okay, chat, please, yeah, I would love one. I'm going to give you a chat. I'm going to give you like signs that you should look out for. Okay. These are signs. And if anybody here has worked in like product management, anything like that, I think you can attest to this as well. If you are building products too quickly, right? If you are building products too quickly with no direction, right? That's a sign. That's a sign that somebody in business doesn't know exactly what they're doing. And so they're basically just throwing darts at a dartboard. They're like, I don't know, maybe this one will hit. I don't know, maybe this one will hit. When a lot of different parts of the organization are always working on separate projects, that seems like that's a good thing, but it's actually not. Because when you start really siloing and you don't have like a good overall company, I guess what I mean to say is it's one thing when you're like Netflix and you've got like thousands of teams across the whatever, that's a bit different. But when we're talking about I don't know, a team of 100 people, right? And you don't feel there's a standard, you don't feel connected. Essentially, if you don't feel connected to the company, that's a sign. That's a sign that you aren't really, involving yourself into trying to actually see the company move forward, right? So if you're getting, tons of stuff just thrown on you and you're kind of just literally just keep pumping out MVPs, essentially, we tried this, didn't work, tried this, didn't work, tried this, didn't work, basically, if it's never working, that's a sign. You know what I mean? Here's another sign, big sign. If people are telling you that they're doing great, it's a solid chance that they're not. Because normally when they're doing great, they don't talk about it. You're just doing great. And so more often than not, when you see, people talking about oh, we got money in the bank, or oh, blah, blah, and this and that, that's a solid sign of, oh shit, something might actually be coming. What is why are we talking about this? That's always the question you need to ask yourself with regards to companies and their decisions. Why are we talking about this? Why is the company having this discussion, right? And if it doesn't make sense often, that is either you not being up to date with what's going on with the company, or the company not updating you with what's going on. What are we talking about? Just companies and how they suck. There's a good book that discusses this, The Build Trap. I need to read more books, so I would love any recommendations that you guys have. Seriously. I do need to get back to reading books, so yeah. Another sign I would say is a red sign is you stick with old ways of working, as it will always work. Yeah, that's another good sign as well, for sure. Yeah, basically trying to do innovation and innovation not being allowed, right? Why change it if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Or whatever it's called. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Also, that stunts innovation in general, right? It just makes people not want to work because they're like, why? You don't care, Okay, so chat, let's do this really, really quickly. I really, really appreciate all you being here. I do apologize. I'm gonna take a super quick break. I want to get my head out of that mind space because I do want to keep working. I want to keep talking about this as well. I also don't want to just depress you guys. The truth of it is, man, like I've been doing this for 10 years and, it's fun. It's awesome. But like, you got to look out for yourself way more than you think. Especially when companies don't look at people as people and they look at them as just like robots churning code. If you feel that way, you got to talk to somebody. Like, I'm not kidding. If you feel like, and pardon this term, but there's actually a really good song out there called Code Monkey. I don't know if you know it. It's a really good song. It's written by Jonathan Coulton. It's basically just about this guy who like feels like, he's just basically being told, do this, do this, do this, do this. And just, the rage that we all kind of build inside when that happens. And if you feel that way, like, talk to somebody you trust. And if you don't have somebody you can talk to that you trust, that's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem too. And I can relate to that for sure. I can relate to that one for sure. I've been there. It's not fun. Yeah. Helpful information's bro. Glad to hear. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. It's like, always ask for more money. Yeah, there's another tip for you. Always ask for more money, even if you don't think you need it. Because they will 9 times out of 10 give it to you. So yeah. Always ask for more money than you expect. I learned that one. I learned that trick about 5 years ago. I was moving from one job to another, and I did not like what I was getting. I was underpaid. I want to be clear. I was massively underpaid. And nobody told me, nobody cared. And I left the company basically because I was literally 50% underpaid what I should be, like the mean salary. And so when I went somewhere, my first job at getting 6 figures, I was like, I'm doing it. I was like, I'm gonna freaking do that. Actually, this was more than 5 years ago. This was probably like 6 years ago or something like that. And so my first, like going into, this was 6 or, this would be like my 3rd year into my career. So this will give you an idea of how long it took me to get to 6 figures. I would say by year 2, year 3, that's when I was checking out. And I was like, just fuck this. I'm done. And so I was like, you know what? The next place I go to, I'm asking for 6 figures. And so that's what I did. Are you transparent about how much you make? Not publicly. I don't mind telling people. I don't really like talking about it publicly because honestly, I don't even think about it. And I know that probably sounds really like arrogant or whatever. And I really don't want it to. It's just that, like, for me, as long as my bills are paid, my loved ones are taken care of, like stuff like that. Like it's like StarCraft to me, just like Vespine gas, but I do always, I will say I always ask for more just because, I want to make sure I'm always moving forward. But I can tell you, it took me about, it's not American culture to discuss the pay in public, at least. Yeah, it's not. It's, like I said, I have no problem. Like, if somebody's really like, dude, I feel like I'm getting underpaid, how can I, I'll be like, yeah, I'll tell you how much I get paid. There are people who know how much I get paid, for sure. Again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just, I don't know. It's not the point. It's about getting paid what you feel you deserve. And again, for me, I just ask for more every time. Like, again, it's not even about the money. It's just, I believe I'm moving forward in my career if I'm always getting more. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's more of a metric for me, is like, okay, if I'm going from one company to another, there's got to be a reason, right? Like, it's either I hate the company and I don't want to stay there anymore, or I want more money. And 9 times out of 10, it's I want more money, and I hate the company. So it's kind of it's kind of both actually with that one. Yeah. But again, I really think you get to a point where you really care more about where you are, because again, as I said earlier to you guys, even if I told you, I have, 500,000 in this and, 600 in this or whatever, like, if I wasn't happy, it wouldn't fucking matter. And that's just the truth of it. Like, let me put it to you this way. I've turned down like $400,000 and above job offers. So that gives you an idea. That's about as far as I'll go. There are code gods who get paid $15K a year as an indie game devs and awful coders who get paid $1 million by fan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I said I've turned down offers at that amount just because I didn't like the company. I felt they were just throwing money at me. Like it wasn't good. It wasn't good. There are tons of positives to the field just to have to stay aware and not get too comfortable or blinded. Yeah, I super agree with that. Code Monkey World of Warcraft music is my yeah, it's a good one. I played a lot of WoW, so yeah. Don't let companies gaslight you. Yeah, I agree. I super agree with that. And you would be surprised how often that actually happens. Like, I'm going to be real with you. At least one person in this company is being gaslit by their chat or by their one person in this chat is being gaslit by their company and they are not aware of it. It is so fucking common. And it happens a lot mostly because it's people who are just trying to do their best and they don't really know how. Like it sucks and it's sad, but a lot of the things of it is like managers are just people too. You know, PMs are just people too, right? Like they don't want to lose their job, right? And if you start saying like, "Oh, I'm not really happy here," and blah blah blah, and then they're just gonna do as much as they can to make you stay, like, you know. And I would hope they would be respectful enough to be like, "Well, I can see you're not happy. If you need to leave, just leave." 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna do that. I'm sorry to put it that way, but just think of reality. Think if you were in their shoes, right? You're going to do as much as you can to make this person stay, or at least hopefully stay, until you're like, okay, like I literally can't do anything else, you know? And if somebody's at the point where they're just done, you can't force that. So it just becomes these two... I will say this. I hate this about America. I know a lot of us are outside of America, and I'm sorry to like poop on America here because like, you know, I am from here and, you know, it is what it is. But like, I don't know. It sucks how insensitive we are in the workplace. Like it's kind of in America, insensitivity is kind of just like expected, you know? And it could be on any level. It could be a little insensitive to massively insensitive, but it's just like, cries in Europor. It definitely, you know, and again, I'm sure insensitivity is everywhere. I'm sure it is. But I will say living in a massively capitalist country, like, it just puts such a nasty taste in your mouth. I'm talking about it could just be as bad anywhere else. I'm just saying from my experience, I can definitely tell you it's a problem in America. Insensitivity and just like, I don't know, arrogance. There are code gods who get paid $15K a year. Oh, wait, I already read that. Yeah. I wonder if I'll get to 6 figures in the EU market before I hit 10 years of work. I always get amazed when I hear. I mean, to be fair, too, I also like, you know, that's another thing, too, is like, my salary is based off of my region, right? And I purposely live in one of the most expensive regions so that I can also have a high salary. Remember, I'm a remote worker. Right. So I can technically live wherever I want, but I like being in San Diego. I like being where I am. You know what I mean? So I'm also able to say, well, regionally, right, I should be paid this. And that's like a whole other thing, dude. Like some companies will be like, yo, well, that's great that like you expect to get paid this much, but like you live here, like that's just not the living average. So we're just not going to pay you that much. And it's like, are you serious? Right. And it's actually very hard to do that with remote work. Remote work is more difficult to validate that, I think, at times because they're like, dude, you sit in a freaking house all day. Like, what do you care, right? Reality of it is like, I care because it's my well-being and I still want to get paid good money. And like, if I wanted to move there, I would want to be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's more about, again, like Empress Fox said, like respecting yourself and make sure that you're not being gaslit. Like, that's an easy way of being gaslit. Of basically them being like, nah, you don't need it. You're good. It's like, what? No, I do. Everybody else is getting paid this. What are you talking about? Right? They do that a lot with remote workers. A lot. Yeah. New York, California, Seattle tech hubs, essentially. In New York, DevOps engineers, even juniors, are making at least 6 figures. Yeah. And again, in New York, it's hella expensive to live there. You know what I mean? You do the same thing or maybe more and you get paid less. Yep. Often. Very often. Very often, yeah. I'm seriously considering moving to NYC or Seattle just because the location difference is so insane. It is. I mean, if I move back to chat, let me put it to you this way. If I moved back to Florida, I mean, I could still have the exact same job, still be remote. Like, I would live like a mother king. Now, however, I would be surrounded by a bunch of racist bigots as well as other people. Not all of them, but, you know, Florida. And so, yeah, like, it's a flip of the coin, but yeah. Shots fired. Dude, I'm from Florida. I'm allowed to say it. Sorry. It's not a great place to live if you're not of a specific color. Ugh. Anyways. I thought they just adjust wages. Yeah, they do, yeah. Thoughts on China tech industry? I feel bad for it. Honestly. It's great in the sense of what they're doing technically, but I mean, are they doing it humanitarianly right? You know what I mean? Like, I was about to move to SD from LA. The Padres messed that up. Yeah. I mean, hey man, we almost won last night. We got the Dodgers. We got the Dodgers the other night. That was cool. I mean, I love the Padres, but yeah, they're kind of just like a novelty team. Although they are doing better. They are doing better, yeah. Just because I live near an Amish town doesn't mean I'm gonna pay less. Yeah. Just because I don't use electricity doesn't mean... I don't know where I was gonna go with that. What type of camera do you use for this stream? I use an old Canon 5D Mark II. I used to be a writer and a director in LA. This is a whole other thing that we're not gonna go into right now. But a lot of the reasons why we have really, really neat production quality like this. Oh, that didn't work. Hold on. Like this. And like, well, it's the same thing. It's just because I used to work in the industry. Like, I'm just used to doing all of this stuff. So the camera, like the only thing that we got for the stream is really like the audio gear. The camera and all that stuff I've had for quite some time. It's got like a really nice lens on it, which is why it looks so nice. It's just from a different past. But yeah, it's a Canon 5D Mark II. Canon 5D Mark II. There you go. I'm actually using OBS also at work meetings. Nice. I'll never go to Florida because of alligators, and no telling me that they are chilled is not good enough. Oh no, you should definitely go hang out with some alligators. So here's the thing, chat. I'm gonna be real with you. They are pretty tasty. You're not wrong there. Yeah, just assert your dominance. Here's the funny part though about alligators. So again, I'm from the South. Like I grew up there. And I tell this to people often. If you want to avoid an alligator, just run in zigzags. Alligators are basically running like plank boards. They can't turn. So if you just like go in, like, I'm not even kidding. They taught us this as children so that we would not get eaten by alligators. Now looking at it back in retrospect, being like, why would you tell a kid that? And then I was like, oh, okay, no, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, that was something I was taught is if an alligator's chasing you, do not run in a straight line. Do not. It will catch you. Those things are fast. However, if you zigzag, it cannot do that. Yeah, exactly. They taught us how to outrun a gator in grade school. Yeah, there's a Toda coming in. A Toda is also from Florida, chat. So yeah, like literally, they taught us how to outrun a gator. Oh, another thing, don't climb a tree. Alligators can wait up to a week for food, dude. So if you just think you're gonna climb up a tree and they'll eventually go away, that shit ain't gonna happen. They will wait for you and they will eat you. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Florida's a crazy place. I'm gonna head out. See you soon, and thanks for the fun stream. Of course. Thank you for being here. Again, be sure to check out all of our links and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a crazy time. Is that part of the curriculum? I genuinely think it was. I'm not even kidding. I genuinely think it was. Do you post your Terraform code anywhere? I do some of the things, right? Like this one, we could actually probably post. Like I'm not against posting this one. So if you go to our GitHub, remind me later. If you go to our GitHub publicly, this is you can't see anything any of these, but we do have a bunch of like example repositories. So this should work for you. There you go. That should work for you. If that link doesn't work for you, I'm not really sure why, but that link should work for you. And if it does, it will show you all of our like example things that we've made, right? Like we've got example frameworks, AKS cluster, Docker application. I think we could make like an example, CloudFront distribution and then add it. It does. Cool. So always like we just have so many links, dude. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, that's not a bad place to check out. Also check out the wiki as well. Yeah. All right, so here's what I want to do. I do have like I was not expecting to learn how to run from an alligator, but hey, as long as I learn stuff. Dude, I'm telling you, when you come to this stream, you have no idea what you're going to learn, and I don't even know what you're going to learn, but we do, and it's fun. I'm the level of impromptu I am doing right now is so high that I don't even know what we're going to be talking about in the next 5 minutes, okay? But you know what? I'm glad we could educate. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to go stretch I'm already been standing, but I'm going to get some water. I'm going to heat up my coffee, which is now a little cold. And I'm just going to clear my mind from the immense conversation we just had. But yeah, give me a few minutes. I will be right back. Remember, if you are new to our channel, be sure to check out that little blurb right there. That is a little bit about us, myself, BG, as well as my good friend Atoda. If you are bored and you'd like to look at some other content while I'm away, feel free to check out our YouTube. We have some pretty cool stuff on there, whether it be the main one or our archives. We also have the wiki and our socials and all that stuff too. So, okay, I will be right back. Steffi, I was going to take my break. Let me take my break. Steffi, thank you for the 19 months. Thank you. Seriously, whether you're new to our channel, whether you've been here for a long time, like, we appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. We're lucky. We're really lucky. I'm doing DevOps, bro. I'm doing DevOps, and you guys are hanging out with me. That's crazy. It's crazy. I was talking to somebody that I had recently met about all this, and they were blown away by all of it. And I was like, yeah, like I do it. I'm me, and I don't know. We'll see. It's thank you for letting me keep do this, because I'm not gonna lie. One day I could go live, and none of you guys could be interested in any of this. So thank you for letting me continue to do it. All right, I'm going to take my break. I will be right back. I will see you momentarily, you beautiful souls. All right, be right back. One sec. I'm going to run an ad as well. If you don't know why we run ads, that's why. You do you do 10x engineering? Probably not. All right, I'll be right back. Hi, I'm back. Sorry, had to get a couple coughs out there. Pee as fast as Prime. I'm good. I don't want to hurt myself. Yeah, I have ad block. That's why you can't do it. No, I don't think that's why I would not be able to make a request to Twitch's API servers. However, maybe. Who knows? All right. Somebody request me to sit down, please. Somebody let me sit down. I would appreciate it if somebody would request BG to put his ass in his chair. That would be... Oh, thank you. You're the best. Here's the funny part, chat. It is more often than not that somebody will redeem the stand and then they will forget. Like, chat will just forget that, they can also make me sit. So you guys just make me stand for 4 hours. So I'm trying to be a little bit more aware of that, because I've walked. Oh, dude, you can hit me with a monkey type too, bro. Okay, that's like my payment. Fair enough. All right, let's see if we do better this time. told you I could write faster, or I could type faster, chat. I told you. See? Just was a bit off my game, that's all. At least he let you set prior to the monkey type. That's fair. Punishment? That's fair. See, I told you, chat. I'm not that terrible. I was just off my game the other day. All right, so we got to do something interesting now. We have solved for the production side of things for the most part, right? We know in some shape or form that we'll probably have a WAF. We'll either turn on CloudFront's WAF. By the way, we're working again now, chat. So we're getting back into work now. So we can keep talking about other stuff though. That's fine. I don't care. We just ask me a question. Just ask me questions, and we'll get diverted again soon. Don't worry. It's very easy to distract me. But yeah, so we have our production stuff set up. So again, right now, if you try accessing our CD or our alternative domain, you should be able to access it yourself. So here it is, right here. Hold on. Right. So that domain is hosted through DNS in Cloudflare, right? So Cloudflare is just doing the DNS side. This is it right here, right? spapoc-dev, right? Cloudfront.net, whatever, right? That's our distribution. No proxying whatsoever. That then gets redirected to our CloudFront distribution, which is local to you guys, right? So for example, if you're, I don't know, on the East Coast, then you'll get a distribution closest to you on the East Coast, right? Versus the West Coast and stuff like that. That distribution should then have, if it doesn't, a cached version of the website. If it does, or if it doesn't, it will then use the internal Amazon network to pull from our bucket the index.html, which is right here. And that index.html is what we get when we load the page that you now see. Now, there's a couple of other little caveats, which is if you are not in the list of countries that we allow you to access, then you can't see the site at all. And so we had a couple of places where you couldn't do that. And so we added and updated those lists so that other countries could see, basically too. Is there a DevOps TLD on some registrar? So I don't know what you mean by a DevOps TLD, but we are using the alta4.dev as our top layer domain, right? So technically dev, oh, you mean the .dev. It's .dev just means development, I think. Oh yeah, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. Okay, I see what you're saying now. GTLDs, GTLDs, that's what we're looking for. These are what we call generic top-level domains. I don't think there is one for DevOps. Yeah, I don't think there is one, actually. We can look, though. Not against it. So, popular... Can you guys see this? Yeah, you can. Okay, cool. So, popular autos. Is there, like, one for... I know there's, like, technology. So, handshake. What is that? Whoa. Dude, there's so many here. Holy crap. I can't go through all of these right now. You got... okay, let's do dev. Here we go. So there's .dev, which is what we have, and then there's .development. I don't think we have that as well. Yeah, so dev. There you go. Dev. Just dev and development. No ops. Oh, ops. Let's see, ops. Nah, there's nothing for ops, unfortunately. So that's why we went with dev, because I didn't want to have like a massive, TLD. Or GTLD. There we go. If you have time, can you sketch out your system design and how you would handle server-side front-end deployments? We can handle that. I'm not going to lie. I'll have to focus on that later, Korean Jedi. Or if you want, just ask me next stream. I could try to. So I think the easiest way I can kind of show how that works is I can't show you. So I could show you how we do it at Hippo. Hang on. Let me, yeah, Google does own .dev. Let me look at my charts. So I have a chart that shows how we deploy containers at Hippo as well. So take a look at this first, because this will probably help you a bit. If you look at the chart that I have here, right, the main things I want you to notice are like the bucket, right, the distribution, and then production, right? At Hippo, we use ECS. So that's the first thing to note is we use ECS. ECS is what we run our containers in. Now, sorry, this is going to have to stay like this. The only difference in the design between the two is that container image replaces bucket, essentially, or bucket replaces container image, essentially, and ECS container, right? So these are running in the cloud as ECS deployments, right? And then internal network is just a public load balancer, right? Outside of that public load balancer, it's still pointed to production from Cloudflare. So in a containerized situation, it goes Cloudflare proxy, right? So it actually does proxy through Cloudflare, goes to our AWS public load balancer, and then that public load balancer points to, one of the services in ECS. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. After Prime Short Stream, I have to remind myself that you mean Elastic Container Store and not Entity Component System. Yeah, there's a lot of acronyms that mean similar things or have similar, similar namings, but do not mean same things. Okay. So yeah, so that's really the main difference here is that's kind of the routing path for that. All right. So let's see here. Where was I? Okay. So we need to talk about a different thing now entirely. As I said, we're not really going to worry too much about like WAF or anything like that. We'll look at, Cloudflare and AWS WAF later. What I really want to solve for next is something that I do not have much of actually a solution for yet. And this is why I want to lean on you guys, because you guys might be able to help me here. So in a production environment, right? Prod, basically, we want these buckets to be publicly accessible, right? Mostly because we want them to go through our CDN. We want them to have that high availability. Like, we want them to use the infrastructure, or we want them to use the infrastructure that we've created here, right? However, in dev, staging, any of our pre-production environments, we don't want those to even be on the internet. We want those domains, like those domains themselves could be on the internet, sure, but you can't reach them. We don't want you to be able to navigate to our dev front end. We don't want you to be able to navigate to our staging front end, stuff like that. So what we need to solve for now is a way of enabling VPN access to these front ends and provide the same experience that essentially the production one would. So, for example, if the expectations around a front end is to deploy it, visit it in a web page, right, and then like see those changes in production, then we need to be able to do the same thing in pre-production. There's a massive difference, though, which is we're not going to use a CloudFront distribution in pre-production. We don't need it. We have no need for a CloudFront distribution in pre-production, right? We can just, like, that's the equivalent of just, like, having way too much overkill for what we need. We could just have, something else that we can go to directly internally. And we don't want this to be global, and we don't want it to be public, right? So this way of connecting to the bucket is already out the window. We cannot use CloudFront here because essentially if we try to, it'll make it public, right? We could still use Cloudflare as our DNS because we need some type of public record that points to something that is hosting our website or our front end. But we want what it's pointing to be private, right? And so you'll see down here that when we talk about pre-production, what we're actually trying to do is we're trying to figure out a way that we can almost have like a S3 bucket proxy or something similar to that, where we have a way of providing a service that we have in our infrastructure access to these buckets, right? And then it can literally load these buckets like a front-end server would, right? So for example, if we wanted to make it so that we could have a static front-end file server for a bucket, privately, we want to be able to do that. And so that's really the goal here is we're trying to figure out a way of making it so that, again, we don't have to set up static file hosting here because that'll make it public, right? We don't want to have to set up a CloudFront CDN distribution because that'll make it public. But we need to figure out a way of basically making it so that we can access these front ends in a web browser, but still have the files exist the same, like no other difference to the development flow except for simply just how they're accessed, right? At least in this pre-production environment. So like I said, we've solved for this. Like right now I can go to SPA POC dev, right? But what I want to be able to do is I also want to be able to say like SPA POC dot, internal, and that internal domain is what actually goes to the internal instance version of it, or the, maybe instead of it being -dev, it's actually .dev for internal, right? So if we want to go public, we put a dash. If we want to go private, we put a dot, right? That could be a way of doing it. I don't know, but I am simply saying that we need to figure out a way of making it so that when we go to this domain, it stays entirely private, versus, when we go to like a public one, for example. Amina, hello. How's it going? I think that's how you say your name. Has anyone ever told you look like Nick Kroll? I get that a lot, yeah. So I'll go through the spiel I always go through whenever somebody comes in and says this. I get told that I look like two people. I look like Nick Kroll a lot now because I have my beard, I think, and I'm wearing glasses. When I was a wee younger lad and I lived in LA a lot more, and I've even signed an autograph as this person once because I thought it was so fucking funny. But if you guys know Jay Baruchel, this is actually like my technical doppelganger that a lot of people say I look like. This guy. Which we kind of do look a lot alike. And when I lived in LA, I got that a lot. I got that a lot. A lot of people thought I was Jay Baruchel, and I was like, no, I'm not. But I got to the point where I was, exactly. But yeah, people have told me I'll take them both. They're both funny guys. I have no beef I have no quarrel with Nick Kroll, so I'll take it. He made a funny show, so. How come whenever I join, you're always talking about something that is affecting where I work too? However, we don't do anything to solve for it. I literally call your work before I go live every day, and I'm like, hey, so what are you guys dealing with? And then he's like, yeah, like, we're dealing with this. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I stream it. Yeah, you didn't know that, but it's been going on for a while. I'm kidding. Am I Indian? No, I am white. Yeah, no. I'm technically what we call a mutt, or I don't know if that's the right terminology, but like I'm a mix of a lot of things. I am Hispanic. My grandfather is from Mexico, so my mother is half and I am quarter, I guess. I am Irish. My grandmother was from, I don't know if she was actually born in Ireland, but her parents were Irish. And then mother being half and me being quarter. I am Native American. Not a lot. Like I'm enough to where my grandmother like brags about it, or I don't want to say brags about it, but she like talks about it a lot. And then I am, I think that's it. Yeah, German. Yeah, German as well. Yeah, German. So I have inner conflict all the time. I'm basically just fighting with my inner self all the time. But yeah, that's me. Gotta head out. All right, this drunk Dane. Have a good one, buddy. Thank you for hanging out as always, being first as always as well, buddy. Thank you. But yeah, I'm a mix of a lot of different things. I'm not technically just like one thing. So how are we going to do this? This is really, really interesting. So I wonder if I could just be like S3 proxy, static proxy. How to proxy? I don't want to do that. I want to do like Like I want to like find a proxy to private can be figured around a single set of S3 credentials are configured to request a proxy. We'll move forward to that. So I'm wondering really quickly. So again, the idea here, guten Abend, hello. Can we make S3 bucket with static site hosting add so that's the problem is the moment we enable static site hosting, it's public. Doesn't matter. It's like it's public the way we don't want it to necessarily be, where we have to start dealing with like ACLs and stuff like that. Right now, because we're using CloudFront has to literally access it via a what we call a origin name, right? That origin name is an identity, or origin access identity, sorry. That origin access identity is what is used here. I don't know if, yeah, you can't see it here. I'll show it to you. It's right here. This origin access identity is what's used to, through the internal network, pull the data. And so we want to, like, basically right now, it's all internal. Great, right? CloudFront accesses it. Cool. So we want to keep that where if we can have, like, again, like, it's almost like I want to just put, like, an Nginx server in front of S3, right? Like that's basically kind of what we want to do. We want to figure out something like that. Now I've used MinIO before quite often, but I don't really know if it like MinIO does like static website hosting, you know what I mean, or anything like that. With MinIO and S3WWW. So I would imagine MinIO is the backend, but what is S3WWW? Because that might be something I could use. Okay, so let's see here. So traffic, I don't give a crap about. MinIO, okay, so MinIO gets created. Cool. Update your secret keys. Cool. Traffic, tell which domain to run and request a certificate. Cool. Download MinIO client, log into the server, create user, create a bucket policy. Cool. Upload policy to server, storage. Cool. Apply policy to setup. Okay, so what is this? So to server static, wait, okay, S3WWW. What is this? Serve static files from any S3 compatible object storage endpoints. MinIO is S3. Yes, I know. Well, it's not. It is not S3, but it is a proxy for it. Yes, or it can be a use for it as well. So yeah, that's why I'm looking at this instead. So what is this S3WWW thing? Because this kind of looks like exactly what we might need. Oh, and it's made in Go. I can read it. All right, so let's take a look here. So path is dir. Open MinIO object. Get object. So yeah, they're literally just... they're just writing a simple HTTP server. That's all this is. I can literally read that and tell. They're setting up an AWS client. They're basically like checking if something is a path versus a file. Yep. Here's their client, file server, bam. Yeah, mux. Client, bucket, path. That's interesting. This doesn't look bad though. Like this is not terribly coded. Like I would actually probably use this. This doesn't look too terrible at all. Access key, bucket, site, address, listening. Okay. So what's the idea here? The idea here is then that this would point to a bucket. It would serve as a web server for us, and it would then return over 8080 the objects in the bucket essentially as a file server. Okay. Interesting. Requires access to view and list files in the bucket. Allow bucket name. Allow. That's fine. I've already got I'll use my global policy for that one for right now. Okay, so let's try this. Should we try this? I'm down to try it. So it looks like this is a Go module. So that's cool. It was written in Go. I guess the only thing that could make it better is if it was written in Rust, right? Right, chat? Right? You nerds. Did that get you excited that I said Rust? Just kidding. Okay, and so we need to say S3WWW, S3WWW. That didn't work. Do I not have echo path? Next bin, profiles, eRiner, ZSH plugins. Okay, so I don't have my Go binaries in my path. All right, so let's go to dot files really quickly. You nerds. Let's go to path. That's not what I wanted. Home manager. So the problem, chat, is that your boy apparently doesn't have the path to his Go. So if I do echo gobin, I think is what it's called. Oh, if I could only spell gobin, really, echo go path. There it is. So if I do cd, or no, let's do ls go path, that bin, right? If I do /bin, it's going to have, see that s3 www in it. I don't have my go path bin directory in my actual pathy path. So I got to add that. However, I guess I just got to do it like this. So path go, what did I say it was? It was my go what? Go path. Yeah, go path /bin. It's off the path. Yeah, it's off the path. It ran off the path. Okay, so that should fix it. So let's do a quick switch on that. If this works, dude, if this S3... So here's the thing that scares me about these types of tools, right? I don't need it to do anything crazy, you know? Like, I just really need it to be a very simple server. And, like, this part looks normal. Like, all of this here looks pretty normal. What is this certificates thing it means, though? Automatic credentials rotation when deployed on AWS for your buckets. Automatic certs renewal. All thanks to Cert Magic. Podman run. How, though? Let's encrypt. Auto TLS container. Okay, so that's just with TL. Oh, I guess it does do something with Let's encrypt. I didn't see that in any of the code, though. Like, what? Object. Maybe object? No. Go releaser, Docker file. Maybe it's in the Docker file. Certificates. I have no idea. Okay, I'm lost. I have no idea where any of that's supposed to be. That is not clear as it should be. I almost feel like I'm going to end up just writing this proxy myself. Okay. So let's do this. S3 www. Hey, look at that. See, we have it now. So if I do help. Okay. So it's S3 www dash access key, right? Access key. Oh, wait, no. I don't need an access key file. Address. Address is fine. Bucket in this case would be our bucket. So it'd be Alt F4 SPA, whatever that is, this thing. Bucket path. The default will be that. Endpoint. Do you actually have to put in like the default endpoint? That's okay. I guess if you have like min.io or something like that, I guess that makes sense. Okay. Endpoint. Let's encrypt. We don't need. Secret key we will need. And that's it. So outside of just needing a access key and a secret key to use really quickly, which I will be able to provide it, this should work. Okay, so let's try this really quickly. I'm going to copy all of this. I need to do this somewhat safely so I don't like, dox myself. Z script. Okay, so touch run server.sh. I'm just going to put this in a little script. Bin bash set eu pipe fail, and then paste this in, right? And then what we want is we want AWS access key. And then we also actually, hold on. Let me just make this a little bit cleaner. No, this way. Thank you. There we go. There we go. Okay. And then this should be AWS secret. Wait, I don't remember what it is. Hold on. Let me go to Doppler really quickly, chat. I got to look at my secrets and I can't show you. All right, sorry about that. I messed up the name of it. It's AWS Access Key ID and then AWS Secret Access Key. Okay, so what this should enable us on a 10-minute. Oh, what's up, Atoda? How's it going, buddy? So this looks good. What's my favorite Tool album? Oh my God, do you love Tool? Oh my God, I love Tool too. Oh, dude, you just asked. You literally just asked. Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. You just blew my mind with that question, dude. How did you know I love Tool? Do I look like that much of a boomer? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, man. If you're being serious and if you're actually not trolling me, which I actually don't even care if you are because I just love Tool so much, I want to tell you anyways. Lateralis is pretty fucking incredible. Like, there's so many good songs on it. The Grudge, Schism, Parabola, right? I would say it's probably a tie between Lateralis and Anima, though I do think I probably like Anima more. Yeah. I got introduced to Tool through Anima, so that's probably why I love that album so much. But good question. Good question. I'm a massive Tool fan. Tool, A Perfect Circle. I mean, a lot of what James Maynard, whatever his name is, does. I like a lot of what he does, so yes. How you doing though, Toto? What's up, buddy? Okay, so we need to run this. 10,000 days though. I mean, 10,000 days is, I mean, again, it's so, I've listened. So same thing with like Radiohead, interestingly enough. Like, I just think Radiohead's got a lot of really good albums that you can listen to. Tool's the same way. You can listen to all their albums and they're awesome in my personal opinion. I don't know. That's just me. Yeah. Okay. So let me try something. So what I'm trying to do, Chad, is I'm trying to make it so that I can inject these secrets with Doppler, so that I can just be like Doppler run and then run server, right? And the idea here is that running it like this will enable me to actually inject my credentials via Doppler into this so I don't like dox myself. However, I just don't know if this is going to entirely work. Chmod 755 run server. Okay, so let's try that one more time. And then we'll do this. And then I'm just going to hide my screen really quickly just to make sure I don't dox myself. Okay, so just 1 second. Okay, so it says that it's listening. However, I haven't actually made a request to it yet. So we're going to do localhost 8080. Hang on. Oh, dang, it works. It works, chat. Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that to work as easily as that did. Okay, so here's the scenario, chat. Here's the scenario. If we kind of update our chart, this proxy is basically now S3WW, right? S3WWW, right? So this bucket proxy is something that could sit in our internal network, have access rules and permissions that it needs, right? Like, look, I'm accessing. Okay, so here, check this out. Just so that we have complete understanding of what's happening here. Look at this domain. This domain here, SPA-POC-dev, right? This, you guys are accessing via the global CDN. So that means that in our chart, you're going to Cloudflare, which has the DNS record, and then that's pointing to the CloudFront distribution, and then the most locally available node to you is giving you our Alta4 rules index.html, right? However, if you'll notice my second URL, which is localhost 8080, what I'm also doing is I'm running an internal private service called S3WWW, the thing we just stumbled upon, right? And I gave it its own credentials to Amazon, right? It's using my credentials use or inject using Doppler to then run the server. So when it runs the server, it gets my credentials and then it connects to Amazon S3. What that means is that in a local development environment, right? Just local dev. That's all we're talking about right now. Just local dev. We could have a privately running service in production for each one of these front ends that essentially connects directly to the S3 bucket via the internal network and is only private, so that we don't have to have a CloudFront distribution on all of these other things. Locally or internally, we just run these little servers, and these servers are what then serve to our developers when they want to check for changes. So for example, let's test this out, okay? So I'm going to keep the server running, and I'm going to go to our static site POC, all right? I'm going to go to the index.html. I'm going to say hi chat, and then I'm going to say under H2, hi chat, we love you, right? Like that, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to CP, right? I'm going to copy my index.html again over to the bucket, right? Now what should happen is SPA POC dev in production over CloudFront, over the CDN should update, and localhost 8080 should update as well, right? Because they're both pulling through the Amazon network and grabbing the bucket, the data from the bucket. So here we go. So I'm going to sync it. I'm going to copy it, I guess. Copied. We're going to refresh here. Okay, there we go. We love you, right? Refresh here. We love you. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so that, oh man, how do I feel about this? I mean, here's the thing. Realistically, I would probably end up making this. Like whatever this little like 100, 200 line utility is, like realistically, I would end up making this myself, right? Literally, I would probably make this in Go too. I would probably rewrite most of this in a way where, yeah. Now I've been in a scenario like this before where I have leaned on a piece of technology that we did not make and eventually gone, oh man, I wish we would have made that. So that doesn't mean that this necessarily is our final solution. However, it does mean that, again, internally at least, there is something that we have on the table here of being able to provide as a proxy, right? And then that proxy can be pointed to via a pre-production Cloudflare DNS zone. I wonder if there's anything else. Because here's the thing, if we do that, then that just means that in pre-production, we literally deploy the same way that we do in some regards. Or I don't think this thing handles multiple domains. It just goes bucket to bucket. So yeah, that's why they have traffic. Yeah. So that would be one downside to this, is like we would have to create one of these services per front end in internal environments, right? So like dev would have one of these for each one of our front ends that are being hosted in a bucket. But with this proxy, don't you have to host it with a container again? We do, yeah, absolutely. And that's why Whisper, I'm thinking now, like, how could I make it so it's just one container, right? If we just have one centralized proxy that can kind of host all of these domains, then that might work. And that's why I'm saying, like, this might not even be the final solution, because I might end up writing, again, this isn't that big of a file. It's like 200 something lines of code for the main implementation of like getting the object, opening a file, and then using it as a file server. Like it's really not much. Like, again, that's why I'm saying I would probably end up rewriting this myself. However, if this can't handle multiple domains, you're absolutely right. We're basically back at square one, where internally at least we're only hosting, we're hosting containers, and we really don't want to do that. I would like to be able to internally and externally just have buckets essentially and things like that are duplicated. So That would mean that if we wanted to do that, we'd either need to find another solution, something that handles SNI, right? Something that handles SNI would be ideal. If you guys don't know what SNI is, it's essentially something that enables you to have multiple domains served through the same web server. And it's mostly for like SSL and stuff like that, but it does allow you to just simply have multiple domains get hosted through the same web server so that you don't need kind of what we're literally talking about right now, where I would need an S3 www container in dev for every single one of these buckets. And that's not super optimal. However, I will say if we do something centralized, right? Like if we do something actually centralized, we're going to need to make sure that it can take some beating. Like it's going to get hit, it's internal and it's going to be for our developers. So that means our developers are going to be constantly refreshing, and like it's, that's why even this, I don't know if it would work well. I don't know if, if I throw 200 and something developers at it, is it gonna, can this effectively make requests to Amazon S3? I don't know. And that's why I'm saying, like, I probably will end up having to rewrite this if this is the case. New to this, but I wonder if you can use Istio mesh so I would love to know what exactly that means. So like, I know it's a mesh layer, right? But isn't that just the networking layer? Like wouldn't it still have to point to some service of some type? Like, right, basically, like if it's a domain still has to point to a service. Unless you're saying like I guess what I'm saying is I could handle it with Istio, yes, but I don't think it solves my problem, which is I need a web server that could connect to multiple buckets and serve multiple domains for those buckets. Like, basically, what I'm kind of thinking here is something like this. Like, what we kind of need, we're going to the drawing board here, chat. Is we have two options. Well, let's go through both of these options, okay? So our first option is we have some type of self-hosted proxy, right? And this self-hosted proxy, connects to a bucket, right? Bucket. Like this. Right? Boop, boop. There we go. Like that. Oh, come on, dude. Oh, it's freaking out. Hold on, let me refresh the page. You could use Caddy. So I do know about Caddy. How does Caddy work with backends? Right? Like, could I point Caddy directly to S3 as a backend? Is that I've never actually used Caddy outside of just like, predetermined configurations for like metrics and shit. Yeah, basically. I know it's cool though. Like I've heard good things about it. I know it can do a bunch of other stuff. I've just never had to solve my problems with it. Multiple domains and multiple backends. Oh wait, I just did right. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So let's go through this first because yeah, maybe Caddy would be a much better option. Caddy is made by Caddy container. It's made by Google, isn't it? Who makes Caddy? Maybe it's not made by Google. I don't know. But I've heard good things about it. Or use Nginx as a proxy in containers that point to multiple. Can you do... Okay, because yeah, I was about to say, can we do that with Nginx as well? Okay, so here's the question. Do you have to pay for the enterprise version of Nginx to do this? I'm going to be fair, yeah. The Nginx one is actually not a bad idea. That one would probably be it would be tough, actually. Because we would still need this to be dynamic. That's another challenge here is like these configurations need to be kind of dynamic to where like we can add and remove backends as we as we need. Caddy might be something we can look at. Anyways, let's hold on. So here's the main idea, is we need some kind of self-hosted proxy that goes to a bucket, right? And that is pointed to via a domain essentially. So we'll just put like DNS again for now. DNS, yeah, right. And so this is our domain. So we'll say our front end domain. So our front end domain points to our web or our self-hosted proxy, and then that proxy goes out to our bucket and gets our data, right? This becomes replicated every time we create a new service, right? So every time we create a new service, we get a new front end domain or record, right? So forth and so on. So this is an option, right? This simplifies it in the sense that the proxy can be pretty dumb, right? Like the proxy layer itself can be pretty dumb. ECR for what? Sorry, what are we talking about? Do you mean ECS? Well, so we don't want to use ECS. Sorry. Right now I'm talking about how we're going to run this self-hosted proxy. We now know that we can do it, right? So for example, just so you're caught up, basically we've solved for the production solution. And anybody else who's just tuning in, hi, I'm BG. Thanks for being here. We do a lot of crazy stuff here, so I appreciate your patience. Anyways, we've set up the production infrastructure already. We have a production DNS zone, which is right here, SPAC or SPAPOC-dev, right? Yeah, you're crazy, bro. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I feel it sometimes. Again, I'm not really sure if those are going through. I am allowing those messages to go through, but if for some reason they're not actually being sent, I don't know why. However, with that being said, we've already set up the DNS, right? Here's the DNS, bam, right there. We've also got the CloudFront distribution set up, bam, there it is right there, right? This is our distribution right there. We've then got our bucket set up. Here's our bucket right here with our index.html inside of it. In that index.html, we've got a very simple HTML document, right? That is just like, hi chat, we love you, right? Very simple but true, honest but true. Or short but true. So anyways, that file has been uploaded, and so if you visit spapoc-dev.altf4.dev, right, then you can visit basically what's in the bucket, right? This is how we do serverless, globally replicated static website hosting. There is no container involved. There is no running process, right? This is just files that are getting replicated against many CDNs. And we are able to lean on that, right? However, in pre-production, we don't want anything to be public, right? Like we don't want at the bare minimum, the domain can be public. Sure, the domain itself can be public, but we don't want it pointing to a public IP address and or record, right? We want it to basically be only accessible. Our front end's only accessible via the VPN in dev, staging, all those other environments. I had to burp, sorry. And so in this scenario, we're not going to rely on a CloudFront CDN distribution because those are globally and publicly available, right? So what we need to do is we need to figure out a almost like bucket proxy, right? Some type of self-hosted service that when we try accessing it in a website sense, like going to a front end, that it can, just like CloudFront does, go out to S3, pull in that bucket, and then, or pull in that object and then serve it like it would a normal file server. But the file server backend in this case is S3, right? Now this is just for development, so we're not as worried about like scaling out heavily. We want to make sure our developers can load stuff fine. So there are considerations of like, do we want a singular, a singular proxy? And this is kind of what we're talking about now, where do we want singular or multiple, where, in the multiple approach, everything is kind of coupled to itself, where, this will give it a container that's in dev that points to a bucket, and then in production it does, the CDN route. But the problem here is we have to provision a ton of containers to do it, right? Every front end gets a container, and like we don't really want those containers. the real big goal here has been to trying to get rid of them. And so what we're kind of talking about is instead of doing, something like this, what we do instead is we say we do this, right? And we say, all right, well, everything goes to one proxy, and then based off of the DNS domain that you're trying to access, right? That's the the bucket you're going to get sent to, essentially. Does this exist somewhere in the internet, in the open source world? I have no idea. That's why I'm saying I think I'm going to have to end up building this, because this gives us the most value and bang for our buck, right? This enables us to just say, all right, well, we just have one proxy that exists somewhere, and we just constantly creating buckets and telling this proxy, okay, well, a new front end exists. If you go to this proxy, you can get to this bucket. This is much more desirable than the previous setup that we had, just because, again, the previous setup requires us to have more than one container, and we're trying to get away from that. We want to be as serverless as possible. However, right? In dev we have caveats, right? We again can't use CloudFront and things like that really enable us to be serverless. So we kind of have to mimic it, right? We kind of have to make it feel like it's serverless, even though technically it's gonna be. It's gonna have servers or services with it. You could resource policy and S3 bucket to restrict the access. You could, yeah, and I mean we would, right? Like whatever service, whatever. So whatever approach we take, whether it be this one, where each one of these would then get their own policies, right? Or this one where it's the scenario where this one service would get IAM credentials, and then its roles would be set up to access all of the buckets it needs, right? It would be either we'll make sure that the credentials are set up properly. That will be done for sure. But that's going to happen regardless, right? Like in the scenario where we have more than one of these, then individually they'll have their own isolated access, versus when it's not that, we'll have to figure out, okay, how are we going to re-add access or make sure that this self-hosted proxies ACLs are updated versus these ones. Hi, what are we doing here? Exclamation mark today in chat. I hope that makes sense though. Keep in mind, CNAMEs are not possible for an Apex root domain record, and they only want to achieve this. And the only way to achieve this is an alias record for CloudFront. Hopefully a non-issue for you. Yeah, no. I think the only issue, no, I don't think it would be a problem, because we do our CNAMing at the Cloudflare level, so Cloudflare would handle that properly. Yeah, don't worry, it's gonna pop up in a second. Just say, yeah, there you go. Sorry, I don't get why you need a proxy for non-prod. The main point of it is so that it's not accessible via public internet. Right, we have a internal VPN that is only accessible via our VPC, and that VPC is where all of our private resources and things that developers use exist. So we want to still have domains, right? Still have domains and stuff, but these domains are pointing to a proxy that's internal to our VPC for non-production environments, basically. We currently do not have a robust solution for our local development for CloudFront, so interested to see what you come up with. I mean, I'm going to be real with you, Nohatsi. I think this might be it. I think what's at least the first iteration is just figuring out one, again, I think a big concern here is do we lean on a centralized thing? Because even then, this centralized thing is still going to have to get scaled, right? So it what's a bit of a bummer here is essentially if we want to make sure our S3 buckets are only accessible in our VPC privately, using their network and stuff, right? We basically need to have some type of service running, right? And that's what the website hosting does. However, when you set up website hosting on an S3 bucket, it makes it globally public. You can set up ACLs to not do that, but at the end of the day, it's still like a publicly accessible routable domain. We don't want that, right? We don't want to enable an additional domain that people could potentially route to our buckets through. And so because of that, we're trying to figure out this like self-hosted proxy approach where, again, we put some type, whether it be Caddy as big Papa Frump, I appreciate you sharing that, and others have shared, or, you know, Nginx or things like that. That enables us to, you know, more easily do it. Now, I will say, if we just create an ingress service, right, and then we can put multiple domains on that, I think it's better because we'll have multiple front ends. I mean, like, you know, 10, 15 front ends at least, but we'll probably only have like 1 to 2 containers, right? And so that is at least better than saying like we have a container for every service, right? We really don't want to have to pay for these additional containers if we don't need to. So yeah. How about limiting access to S3 bucket only from public list? So Whisper, we have already considered that as well. So I'm actually going to be on a call with Cloudflare for Hippo in about a week or two. We have a contact. We basically have a technical contact at Cloudflare. And so I'm going to be on a call with them, and we're going to talk to them about literally what you and I are, you know, what we're all talking about right now is like, what's the best approach for this? Their approach on the interwebs is to literally do that, right? It's to if you do Cloudflare S3 bucket, right? They have a document somewhere where, yeah, you can do this. And it's basically doing exactly what they say, exactly what you say. You create a bucket, configure your bucket policies to allow the Cloudflare IP addresses. That's because Cloudflare does actually provide you with a list of IP ranges. Not many people know that you can do this, but if you want to make sure that Cloudflare is the only thing that accesses your, like, this is why, like, honestly, I never worried about using Cloudflare as a proxy when I was running stuff at my house, because I never opened my whole network to the world. I just used these IP ciders, and then I opened these up in my firewall. So like when people were like, BG, like you're hosting stuff out of your garage and like exposing your IP address and stuff, I'm like, yeah, like it's firewalled. Like I have all of the IP addresses that Cloudflare would access, you know, our services over. It's wacky to me that we just use IP ranges. Yeah, you're not wrong on that one. It is a little wacky. I mean, we have to make, dude, it would be so hard to manage every IP address on a scale like Cloudflare. We can just hope that these are all owned by them, right? Like that. Yeah, you're not wrong there. That is, what up, Jordan, by the way? How's it going, buddy? Shout out to Vape Juice, Jordan. But yeah, you're not wrong, man. It is a little terrifying in its own sense. Did that work? Did the new shout out thing work? It is insane. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the thing that's insane is like, look here, like April 21st, 2021, they removed a massive subnet. Well, actually, no, it looks like they removed 12 and then they added 13 and 14. So yeah. So like if you still had 12 in your, like, that's the scary part, right? Is like not realizing that, hopefully removed doesn't mean they lost. No, I would imagine this means that like you need to remove this from your whitelist. Yeah, I would imagine like they don't own this anymore. They probably, honestly, Cloudflare is probably got some kind of agreement with whoever is managing. I forget who manages IP addresses now. It's like, I forget who it is, but I've worked with them, and like we're out. Like 100% we're out of IP addresses. We are just cycling them at this point, and like people are, you know, giving up addresses and like gaining addresses. Amazon owns like a specific part of the IP address market. Cloudflare does for sure. I would imagine like other really big companies do too. And so yeah, like we're out of addresses. So like seeing them rotate 12 and then go to 13 and 14 probably means that like maybe they rotate these ciders every few years or something like that. You know what I mean? just to make it so that people can get in, get addresses. Because if you just like, that was the biggest problem with IP addresses, is squatting rights. Like basically people would buy IP addresses and just squat on them forever and not do anything with them. And that was like a big problem. That's why we needed IPv6, or one of them was just we were running out of space and nobody was giving up their IP addresses. And then we re-regulated how IP addresses are like done, and like a bunch of people, a bunch of like places gave up their addresses because we were like, yo, we're running out of addresses. You need to like give these up. Much more regulations were broken down, or were brought down on them. But yeah, like we're running out. Like, yeah. Like we own IP addresses. Alt F4 owns IP addresses. We own a CIDR block of 5. Hell yeah. We're our own data center, chat. We do. We technically own a CIDR block of 5, yeah. CloudFront is a much better proxy for S3. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The proxy that we're going to be using is, is just for internal. That's why we want to try and figure out, again, we know the public or the production one, right? We know how we want to lean on CloudFront and, all that stuff, but we do need to kind of figure out. I think I want to try this. I think it's really going to be more valuable to us as an organization if we can just lean on something that, that can kind of serve all of these buckets for us. I will say it's going to be a little bit challenging. Let me make sure I've got the links that you guys have given me, because I kind of want to take a look at these. So this is one of them. Set up Nginx as a reverse. So here's the thing about this one. To do it with Nginx, this one actually kind of makes a lot of sense, right? Because you're basically just setting up hosts, and then you're setting up your, proxy headers and all that stuff. Like I get that. However, I don't know if that's a good idea to use Nginx for this or not. I don't know, because it does have a lot of other nice things about it, right? Obviously, like, what's it called? Host being able to handle multiple, like it does a lot of stuff out of the box. That's really nice. So it could do caching as well. So it'll actually, if it grabs objects, it'll make sure to cache those objects if it needs to. If we could do this route, it's not bad. See, that's crazy. Similarly, the AWS instance metadata IP address is also crazy to me. What do you mean? Wait, hold on. What do you mean that the instance wait, you mean like the 169 dot whatever? Why is that crazy to you? Yeah, why is that crazy to you? That's only accessible via the service. Magic IP address. Yeah, dude. Do you know, like, I'm sure you know this, Jordan, but like a lot of people don't realize that thing is literally the fucking backbone of provisioning in cloud providers. Like if we didn't have 169.254, 169.254, like it's a massive. So do you know why it exists? Do you know why the magic IP address exists, Jordan? Coral your way to some security credentials. Yeah, exactly. Wonder if an S3 private endpoint would work. So to do an S3 private endpoint, you need to enable web hosting. Yeah. That's the caveat there. The challenge isn't so much that we can't have some type of way. It's that we want to use the Amazon network as the requester, right? So in this case, internal network CloudFront, right, is going through Amazon's network to make that request, right? We want to access the bucket the same way. We want like an S3 way of basically going from bucket to file server, right? That's really what we're trying to achieve here, so that we stay within, using Amazon credentials and, all that kind of stuff. Hey, bro, fellow DevOps here. Do you think that GitOps and Argo CD are good things to invest into a prod dev M for? So, Alex, I'll say this like I say, time and time again. And again, you probably don't know this because you were first time here, and that is fine. But I genuinely believe it all comes down to your technical document. It's going to depend on you sitting down and being like, does this make sense for us? How is this going to work? Right? I can't tell you that technically. Like, I really can't. I can tell you that it's a neat piece of tech. It does some really cool things. I can tell you that I've tried it and I didn't end up using it because I'm I'm more of a practical engineer when it comes to, wanting to get stuff done and moving forward. There was a lot of gotchas and a lot of edge cases with like how it works and expectations around it. That makes it different and makes it a bit more challenging than just going to, Circle CI and like creating a pipeline or something. So yeah, like it's like, is your company fully following GitOps? That would be one question. Do you guys have a good, development life cycle? That would be another question, stuff like that. Our company invests heavily in Argo CD, and it is something that you have to invest in quite a bit. By the way, really quickly, for anyone who doesn't know why we have the 169.254, 169.254 addresses in clouds, it's essentially to solve the chicken before the egg problem, right? When you provision a virtual machine in the cloud, it's basically like a blank slate. It has an operating system inside of it and things like that, but it doesn't have anything else, right? It's basically host nameless, it's credentialless, it's all of these things. And so we need, and I'm not even talking like, oh, could I use, salt stack? No, dog, this is so low level that like the operating system won't even boot unless it gets these types of credentials. Like, this is the problem it needs to solve for. Like, what user am I going to use? What IP address am I supposed to be on? Like, this, like, you can't use Salt Stack or Ansible or any of those things unless you have those problems solved. And at scale, when you're provisioning thousands and thousands and thousands of virtual machines every second, you need a way of doing that that's like network level. Like, it doesn't matter if the internet's down, it doesn't matter, like, it just needs to be accessible in the virtual machine at all times. There are two ways of doing this that are very common with hypervisors. The first one is to actually inject a ISO. So you can create because when computers start, they're used to booting from disks. And so a common way of doing it is you create a file, which is an ISO, and in that file, when you boot the virtual machine, it adds that file to the bootloader, and then the bootloader catches that file, reads it, renders everything it needs to into the file system, and then the virtual machine turns on the way that it needs to. However, that is massively inefficient. It's massively inefficient because that means that every time a new virtual machine needs to get created, a new file needs to get created for it as well. And again, just from my knowledge, that's the only real other way you can precede a virtual machine. And so the way that it was solved for was using Cloud Init, essentially, is what it's called, and the 169.254, 169.254 address. Essentially, from a operator level, it is a hypervisor feature that enables virtual machines to have a network level access to a resource of some type that gives information about its specific service. And that's how they do it. So basically the service starts right as the virtual machine starts, Cloud Init starts. So right before it tries creating, basically right before it tries actually booting, it runs Cloud Init. So it curls 169.254, 169.254, gets the host name, gets the username, as you guys said, curl to get credentials, all that stuff, gets all that stuff, virtual machine starts up, and there you go. And that's how, that is how dynamic provisioning actually happens in Amazon and most major cloud providers. Without that feature, you would not be able to have dynamic virtual machines. So yeah, it is a really amazingly clever feature to just be like, whatever, we'll just make it a 127001-esque thing. What's up, Sympathy? How's it going? By the way, sorry guys, I know I just went off on a tangent on that, but one of the reasons why I like talking about it is because not a lot of people know how it actually works and why it's there. So you just learned something, chat. But what's up, Sympathy? How's it going? Shout out to Sympathy. I love sending Eric on tangents. I know, dude. It's so bad because you're good at it too, because you ask, we talk about such technical things quite often that I'll just be like, okay, hold on. And then, yeah. No, all good. Learning is good. Yeah, no, I mean, I try. Some of this stuff is way too deep, but I learned good. Yeah. I mean, the TLDR is basically if we didn't have cloud in it, or we didn't have that 169, there literally would be, like, we would just be creating virtual machines that are dead. Like, it doesn't mean you can't create VMs, but you don't get the credentials and all that stuff. Can you comment on S3 durability? No, I'm not going to comment on that. Honestly, because I don't know if I could. I mean, I guess I'd have opinions, but I don't know. I look at S3 as just like a warehouse, like just throw my stuff in there. I thought, yeah, no, not on that one, no. That's just like, that's too much. That's far too much. Almost, though, almost. Now, if you're talking about like Amazon load balancers, that's a much different fucking story. That one I could go on forever because that's ridiculous. Oh my God, dude. Holy crap. Docker pricing? Oh, geez. No, that's dumb. Docker pricing. Docker. It's so sad to see a company who had such impactful and like honestly, chat, I hate to put it to you, but like Docker is the best example of how a company exists in technology. It can be massively impactful and disruptive, but if they do not have a good business plan, it doesn't matter. Eventually technology is going to push it to the side, and it's happening. Podman's becoming a thing. We're talking less about Docker and more about Kubernetes these days, like, and just using like straight, like, it's so sad to see the business just failing at Docker. How about AWS NAT gateways? Oh God. All right. Now you're just trying to bait me for triggered responses. Bluezilla? I don't know what Bluezilla is. Okay, I'm done. I appreciate that. I mean, the thing is, you're just gonna hit you're gonna strike a nerve on something, and I'm just gonna keep going off. I don't even know what this is. I've never heard of it. Bluezilla, the blockchain for GameFi. I feel like Jordan, you'd probably know what this is. It's a blockchain for GameFi. Game finance, I'm guessing, is what that is. Is that what that is? Game finance. This sounds like my company. Well, there you go. Nix needs a monetization strategy. Nix just needs a fucking strategy. Pardon my language. Sorry, Nix just needs a strategy. Nix just needs something. I'm trying, Chad. I'm trying. Caddy S3 proxy allows you to proxy requests directly from S3. S3 does have the website option. In many cases, normal proxy, reverse proxy could be used. However, it sometimes is inconvenient to do that. This module lets you access S3 data even if website access is not configured on your bucket. With Caddy 2, you can use Xcaddy to build a version of Caddy with this plugin installed. To install Xcaddy, you get Xcaddy, okay. And then the Caddy directive with something like S3 proxy, bucket region, endpoint, root. So here's the question. And you're saying that Caddy can provide multiple domain support? Because that would be the other thing here. Caddy directive. You have to build Caddy with its actual, like, stuff. Like, How you doing, though, Jordan? What's up, my man? How's everything with you? S3 backend that can store files and decentralize the files to nodes sounds durable. We can't use the Docker engine at work, indeed, also because of their business model. Now most devs use, what is it? Colima? I don't know what the fuck that is. Colima start. Using Docker runtime starting Colima. Dude, this is exactly what I mean. Yeah, this is exactly what I mean. Literally. Yeah, I've used Caddy for other things. Dude, how many? There's so many. I saw somebody do Bash Docker runtime. Have you guys seen this? Which, honestly, this is kind of impressive. I think it's called, like, I don't want to, like, Google something and it not, Bocker, I think is what it's called. Bocker? No, that's not it. What is that thing called? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? It's like somebody rewrote Docker in Bash, basically. And like they even have like the commands and everything, which I just find hilarious. Like the reality of it is like I said, Docker was a really neat idea and it solved a lot of problems in a really cool tool set. But at the end of the day, It's not containers, you know what I mean? It's not the core of what made it so impactful. So unless you have a good business model around it, it's going to be tough for you to be competitive. Nice pick. Nice. Yep. Kubernetes has containerd, which, I mean, containerd has been around for a while. Okay, so I see. But okay, so hold on. How do you do multi-domain? I need to see how you do multi-domains with Caddy, because if you can't, like, Thank you for the follows, guys. I appreciate that, by the way. I almost feel like I kind of want to look at the, hold on. Where did the Nginx one go? I feel like I have so many links, dude. Ugh. So this is the Caddy proxy. That's that. That's S3. That's the thing of JBear Shell. That's Quirk. Hippo. Where did that go? Uh-oh. I lost that link. Hey, what's up, Chris? How's it going? Are we winning? We're always winning. Daily. Nginx S3 backend. Use Nginx as a object storage gateway. Okay, here we go. Okay, so although proprietary to AWS, the AWS S3 has become the de facto standard interface for object storage systems, with many vendors offering compatible storage products. Backblaze, DigitalOcean, despite the broad support, S3, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, you might be wondering, my object storage already stores files on my scale. Well, I would want to put a layer in front of it. The answer is simple. Object storage like S3 do one thing well: store and retrieve objects. Nginx, on the other hand, is a highly configurable reverse proxy, which provides additional functionality on top of the basic object storage gateway, such as good solution for a diverse set of uses. Yes, I don't disagree with that. Caching, yep, it can handle caching. It can do security control. Although S3 has its own authentication, many security control, compression and content, access for internal application security. Honestly, I think Nginx might be the first way to go. Yeah, I think so. I think Nginx is actually going to be the first way to go here. I think what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to figure out first how to translate a direct proxy for one bucket, right? And then I think we're going to need to figure out how to replicate that for multiple buckets and multiple domains. The reason why I think Nginx is going to be good is for a couple reasons. Although, oh no, don't tell me this is for Nginx Plus. Dude, I hate Nginx Plus. Use Nginx source, Nginx image, configure and run a gateway doctor. Using Nginx Plus has some compelling dynamic DNS resolution. I don't care about that. It literally is. Yeah, Nginx Plus is literally just another Docker situation. Yeah. It's unfortunate. I don't really find any value for it. S3 settings.env. Okay, so here's all of the, so bucket name, access key. Let's go look at their project on GitHub. Common contains files used for both Nginx OSS and Plus configurations, deployments, OSS. All right, let's look at open source first because I'm not paying for Plus. Version, proxy, okay, set, show. Good God. Oh, never mind. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I thought this was like the start command. Never mind. We're in the Docker file. Install Nginx module NJS. What is that, chat? NJS. It's a scripting language. Oh. Okay. So we're installing NJS. Okay. So it is relying on scripting of some regards. Here we go. Open source, etc Nginx. So if we go to confd gateway, server variables, set cache. Nope, that's not what we need. Templates, upstreams.conf.template. Resolver. Upstream storage rails. Upstreams are not refreshed until Nginx converts. Nginx Plus will dynamically roll whatever. So S3 server, S3 port. That's not what we need. That's just for the actual S3 stuff itself. Common. etc Nginx. Docker entry point. So, oh god, this is so much work. etc Nginx. Nginx.conf. Okay, here we go. Preserve environment variables for worker threads. Okay, so it does all of that. Load module. Okay, so HTTP/JS module and JS modules for implementing S3 authentication. Okay, HTTP. Okay, proxy cache path. Okay, so outside of like the environment variables and stuff, that's all pretty standard. So it's got to be in like conft or something. So let's go to include S3 gateway.js. Oh my god! I just realized what this is doing! No! No! I'm not doing that! I'd rather write it and go. Does anybody else realize what this is doing besides me? Because this almost made me like sad for a second. Anybody else? Before I tell you what's going on right now. Anybody? S3 www. No, not that. So, okay. How they're doing this, chat? Wow, okay. Dude, I did not know. Wow, I didn't know that. I'll be real. I didn't know that Nginx was this like extensible. Okay, so chat, the way that they're solving for this is if we look at the main Nginx conf right here, right? Look at these modules that we're loading. We're loading NJS, right? An HTTP/JS module. So we're loading a JavaScript module and an XSLT module, right? Well, why are we doing this, I wonder? I have no idea. Let's just keep looking forward. So we look forward and we see like include like conf d and stuff like that, right? And then we say like, okay, well, we just loaded like like a JavaScript module. That's kind of interesting. And then we go to include, and then we do S3 gateway.js, and we realize that it's inheriting the environment variables from Nginx, and it's using JavaScript to call to S3. So they just hooked JavaScript into Nginx, chat. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like this is just JavaScript crammed into an Nginx service that somehow is interoping this and running this. I'm not doing this. This is, like look at all of this stuff that they have to do. Does that make sense? Are we on the same page with that? That basically it's really just JavaScript that's powering this and Nginx not at all? Oh, wow. Yeah. But why XSLT? I would imagine for configuration because they have a listing.xsl. And so I'm guessing, I actually have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. But like, this is kind of crazy. Yeah, I did not know that you could embed JavaScript into, what's going on? Luciel, how's it going? Hello. I'm glad that you live. I'm glad. How are you? Yeah, I'm not too sure. But I did not know you could embed JavaScript into Nginx. That's a new one for me. That one was definitely a new one for me. So yeah, dude, like even if we go the Nginx route, like it's still going to be some custom coding. This is why better than Lua? No. I've been sore. Oh, dang. Sorry. Oh, nice. Dude, Comic-Con it'll be here soon. I know they just did the pre-sales. At this point, replace Nginx with Express. I mean, yeah, right? Like that's like we're at that kind of point where it's like, okay, like we've kind of evaluated everything, right? Like we've looked at Nginx, We've looked at like this other S3WW thing. Like we've, I feel like we all have, at least for those who've been sticking around the whole stream, I think we're all kind of on the same page here. Like, again, production, taken care of. We totally got that. Pre-production, we know it's going to be some type of proxy. We also know now that, we would much rather rely on, a single entry point that we can give these services instead of having tons of containers that we just don't want, right? Yeah. And we know that most of these solutions are just made to just work with the S3 API, right? So I don't know. It just there's nothing here that stands out. Honestly, it's kind of a bit of a bummer that there's nothing here that stands out to me that has solved the I want to use S3 as a backend for an HTTP file server. I'm actually very surprised that problem has not been solved. I guess it's just because you don't really need to, I guess that makes sense. Like you're probably not going to do this as much as you would be anything else. But yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense? I guess this problem isn't really that big of a deal just because you're normally solving it with CloudFront and stuff like that. But I will say, I'm genuinely surprised that there's not just a, point file server to this and then get stuff from Bucket. So that means they have a JS engine in it. Basically, yeah, Pick. The idea is that to get Nginx to work with object storage as a backend, basically, they just injected the JavaScript compatible, extension or module, and then they just, made all the requests in JavaScript. Yeah. Yeah, that's literally what this does. So if you go here, you go to include S3 gateway.js. This file is loaded by Nginx as a part of its runtime, and then it can process this file and then return a response if it needs to. So yeah, it's literally just powered by Node, and that's not what we want. I don't know if we really want that. Although it does say that this is from Nginx Inc. So this is their official repository and everything too, which is kind of crazy. Maybe this is what they suggest. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a small percentile problem or a tough problem. No, I think it is. I think it's definitely potentially a small percentile problem for sure. I definitely do. Like I said, we, in normal scenarios, you're using a bucket with CloudFront or, static website hosting. Not a lot of people say, I don't want to use the very easily turn-onable static website hosting, and I want to point, something else that I have to manage myself. So I get that. I totally get that. I really do. Yeah. It just means we'll probably have to solve this problem. That's literally what that means. It just literally means we will probably have to solve this problem. Yeah. Many people just throw their static files in a bucket, enable it. Exactly. Yeah, literally what Whisper said. Yeah. Better than Lua. I know you said that, Jordan, earlier. I don't know. I mean, honestly, no. I'd probably rather use Lua. I just don't what's the point? I wouldn't use anything. Again, what's the point of using Nginx if you're just using it as a request handler? You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just not use Nginx. Yeah, same. Yeah. Bummer that this isn't solved for though. This is also kind of why it makes me feel I don't know, maybe we should build it. Because we have this amazing power of you guys, the friggin' awesome community we have. And, I could easily build out a very simple POC, put it on the internet, and you guys would probably run with it like crazy. And especially if we did it in Go or Rust. We could do Rust. This is actually maybe not a bad potential idea for Rust. But Go for sure, yeah. May I ask why not use this Nginx because of JavaScript? If this is only for testing environment, what's the problem? At least it's ready. So the main reason is even though if it's a testing environment, we're going to have 200 developers hitting it daily, right? If not more, right? It's even though it's not production for me as an engineer or as a DevOps engineer and who's let me put it to you this way. if you were working at my company that I was at, right, and we were putting something out for you guys to dev against, would you like my answer to be, it doesn't matter, it's just this? Or would you like my answer to rather be, well, let's make sure that we're building something that stays up for our developers as well, right? The worry about JavaScript is just, it's probably running a node process in the background. I do not know how otherwise it would run JavaScript. So, Nginx is probably executing some kind of node threaded process or something in the background to run that code, right? That's more overhead than we necessarily need for this, especially when we could just write it in code and the code be the overhead itself. We have, what happens if the module breaks, right? Like, what happens if the JavaScript module breaks? Well, then we're completely screwed, right? There's just so many pieces. I hate to say it, but like, it's just such a duct tape solution that it would be better for us to say, like, we know our problem and what we need to solve. Let's build the best tool for that, right? And that's why I'm saying, like, Rust even is not a bad circumstance here, or Go, something that like in Go, we could make it completely asynchronous where, Go fans out and requests all of the things at once. And then once all of them are done, handles it, returns. Like, we could do a lot of stuff like that. Like, we could make it pretty freaking performant. So, yeah, again, it's just, I'm surprised that it hasn't been solved already. But again, I also understand why. Like we said, scarcity of a problem, things like that. Yeah. Well, it gets more complicated. You might be able to do proxy and S3 and S3 bucket like CloudFront, but then you'll need proxy multiple buckets at different request paths like CloudFront. Then you'll need to implement edge functions in your proxy caching. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's another thing is we really want to make this as we want our developers to just go to the domain and not all of these changes are non-impacting or should not be impacting to the developers at all. Right? Like, that's just the basic of it. They should not, the developers should not, they should still get the domains that they get. They should still, access everything the way that they do. This is entirely for us and like saving money, making things a little bit easier to manage, stuff like that. Yeah. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to call it here. Here's why. We have done a ton of research today. We have done a good amount of deployment as well as understanding how we're going to do this from a front-end or a production perspective. And we even got the ability of doing some type of proofs of concept with S3 www and, loading our objects from a bucket. So we know that we can definitely do the public routing, right? We know that we can do the production routing the way that we want to. We know that there's probably somewhere in here with WAF, and whether it be Cloudflare's WAF or Amazon's WAF, there's going to be some WAF somewhere between here that we need to figure out. We'll figure that out later. Pre-production, though, was big. It was, pretty important that we figure out how we're going to access buckets through websites like static web hosting. But make sure it's completely private. We don't want a public domain that Amazon gives us and then have to whitelist stuff. We don't want anything accessible that shouldn't be in the environment that it should be in. And so again, production, that's fine. Production is, that's where we want that to be public, but any other environment should not even be routable, right? And so in this case, we realize that we can use a proxy of some sort, though, again, leaning on you guys, which it looks like outside of, Caddy and some Nginx options that are kind of meh, we're probably on our own here, and there's a solid chance that we might even build some type of service that I will say this: if we build a service, we're going to build a service with an API, because we need something that can add and remove these hosts and these buckets dynamically, right? We need something that can very easily update itself from a different location. So that's another thing we haven't even talked about, which is like if we use Caddy or Nginx, that configuration is going to need to be updated every time we have a new bucket, every time we have a new front end. So that's why I'm saying I don't even know if Caddy or Nginx will be good solutions here, because it might make more sense for us to simply write a very simple static file server that works as a proxy directly to S3 and also has the functionality of all of the other things that we're talking about that we actually would rather have than like trying to tape something together which is only available You can use basic auth and edge functions and AWS. Yeah, I know, but like that's again, we're talking about like zero access, my man. I don't want a packet to even get to you, right? Like that's the layer of off I want it to be. So like that's the goal. That's been our goal. Because like here's the thing, when that happens, it's just human error. You just don't know. You don't know if somebody messes up a rule somewhere or accidentally sets a policy to something it's just, I like having really hard boundaries that are just, massive and away from everything, right? And not thought about, than having a lot of like small barricades, right? I guess if that makes sense. Like I'd rather have a huge wall. Oh, that sounds terrible. But I'd rather have that sounds so terrible. I would rather have a, some type of barrier around me that's, very tall, I guess is what I could say, rather than like small little barricades, right? Build a wall. Dude, once I said that, I was like, I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like it. Defense in depth. Yeah. Prevent enumeration, privilege escalation. Sure, yeah. If you have a bunch of small barricades, one can fail. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but I don't know. Barricades provide space. I don't want space. I don't want any gaps. So I don't know. That's just my perspective on that. Anyways, thank you guys again for hanging out with me today. I really do appreciate it. I am going to call it here. If you are new to our channel, be sure to, as always, check out this little blurb right there about us. Again, we are a co-hosted channel by myself, BG, as well as my good friend Atoda. Basically, we stream during the week. I stream during the week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, anywhere between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. on the West Coast. And during the week, you get to hang out with me. So we're working on stuff like this. We're working on things I'm doing for work or for Alta 4 projects we're building. We build things like Quirk. If you guys don't know what Quirk is, it's literally the thing that powers our whole stream. You guys just made my lights change. That's powered by Quirk. So whether if it's building, our own projects for our company or, projects for where I do my actual day-to-day job work, that's basically throughout the week. I am a DevOps engineer. I've been doing this for 10 years now. And so you get to experience, basically that side of engineering and that perspective. On the weekends, however, Atoda is brand new to programming. He is just getting his feet wet in the programming world and the development world. And so he's really excited about learning all sorts of these things that maybe I'm more used to, but maybe things that you don't know yet, things that I don't cover as much, like basics in, front ends and back ends and creating clients and making front ends and connecting them to the back, like all sorts of stuff, learning a new language, all that kind of stuff. So whether you're new, you want to hang out with Atoda on the weekend or hang out with me on the weekdays, or vice versa, we'd love to see you. Like I said, we try and provide a bunch of different content here, so we would love to see you, whether, again, you're interested in more advanced stuff or new stuff as well. Also, we do have our fantastic Discord. If you guys do not know, it is a fantastic place filled with wonderful people. If you ever have questions, if you ever need help, we have dedicated forums, basically, I guess that's what they're called, where you can ask those questions. And again, we have moderators that are there to help you as well. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube. I'm a big fan of a lot of different things. I like automation. I like, I like Nix. I like clouds and programming and all these different things. And so the main link is focused on the things that I'm really interested in that I want to share with you guys that might not be on stream. And so this is where you guys can see, specific things and like learning that maybe, again, I'm trying to more educate and things like that. However, we also have our archives. If you are ever wanting to catch a VOD or see anything that you may have missed, the second link is for all of our VODs and stuff like that. And so those get uploaded pretty often. You can definitely check out those, to catch anything you may have missed. The last thing, too, is we also have our wiki. So if you didn't know, we also have a place for a lot of the technical documents and things like that we create. So you can always go to the wiki. You can also sign up for the wiki. It is actually a place where you can, join, have feedback on and stuff like that. Whether you're interested in any of the technical design documents that we've made on stream or any of the conversations we're having around DevOps and infrastructure, yeah, feel free to check out all of that stuff, guys. Thank you again so much. Again, we also do have our socials. I'm not really great at Twitter, but hey, it is what it is. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Again, you guys keep us alive. You keep us going. So yeah, let's go find somebody to raid really quickly, and I'm gonna get out of here because I got stuff to do. Let's see here. Who is streaming right now that I can raid? Let me take a look. Is anybody doing DevOps? Would be a good question. Hang on. Don't expect shoutouts on the wiki. What's that? What do you mean? Don't expect shoutouts on the wiki. What does that mean? I mean, if you make a wiki article, you can do whatever you want as long as you're cool about it. You know what I mean? Let's go raid Coding Garden. We haven't raided Coding Garden in a long time. If you guys don't know who Coding Garden is, he's a really, really sweet guy, really, really cool guy, very, very smart as well. Focuses again on a lot on like education and stuff like that. Let's go say hi to Coding Garden, guys. Have a very, very, very fantastic rest of your day. Oh wait, what? Raid. What? Hello? Hello? Why is my raid not working? Can I not raid anybody right now? Chat, are you there? Chat, hello? There we go. Okay. I don't know why my chat like stopped working, but there we go. All right, let's go raid Coding Garden. Let's go say hi to him, guys. Have a very, very, very wonderful rest of your day. Again, I hope you enjoy his stream. Are your past streams available online on Twitch? So if you want it, so they're always online, or they're always online on Twitch first, but then they eventually get moved over to YouTube. So like this one today is available right now on Twitch. You should be able to access that right now. We're rating ourselves. It says it's rating, but does it say it's rating Coding Garden? Because I want to like actually raid Coding Garden. Does it say it's rating Coding Garden? He's not rating us, is he? No. I see rating Coding. Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. All right. Guys, get in on the raid. Have a very fantastic rest of your day. Sorry, Twitch has been weird lately, dude. I'm just confused half of the time. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Love you. We'll see you soon. Okay. Bye.